evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Upsurge Minor League Division 2 quarterfinals as Dawn Esports Premier take on Truman State University Esports. I'm your play-by-play caster, Milky Serial, and joining me in the casting booth is the Prophet, I believe we call you, Rebel Fox.
Yeah. How's it going? It's nice to see you, Milky.
Likewise. Now, before we really get into picks and bans and all of this, we have hit preseason and there's a whole bunch of stuff to talk about, but we're going to try to talk about some of the more important things that could really be affecting this best of 5.
Yeah, there's plenty of things about how the game has really transformed. Jungle pathing has changed immensely due to the fact that jungle camps are worth a lot different values in terms of gold, experience, and their spawn timers are a lot different. You have dragons on the map affecting how the map looks, how the map feels, and of a lot different stat things. You have dragon souls that can come through that can impact. Elder Drake is just an absolute massive buff. You're talking 2 Rift Heralds in the top. There's just so much objective play now that there's so much difference in terms of like how you can expect to play out a game. It's difficult to get all of it right now, but as the game kind of unfolds, it'll be easier to explain as we see it.
Yeah, and I want to take a look at what you mentioned with the changes to the jungle, because Gromp now gives you a bit more XP, so junglers can kind of start on both sides of the map. But I've been talking to a few junglers. Some of them reckon that now you kind of have to perma-gank lanes. Some of them reckon that you power farm. Do you have a particular theory as to what is better?
So how I think that the jungle farm is now gone is that both creative pathing and correct pathing is a lot more valuable. So if you're able to get camps in a consistent manner, that's a lot more valuable than just perma-ganking or perma-farming as best you can. Number 2, the way that camps themselves have now operate is that they give more gold over time because because they spawn faster, but the amount of gold that you get in immediate taking of them is less. Same with experience because they have been dropped basically across the board other than Gromp, as you were saying. To me, there's a lot of things that this changes. Here's the big one. AD junglers who can gank early, that's champions like Olaf, Jarvan. They weren't massively affected by the gold differences because they don't have to buy core items. So to me, you're going to see them. They clear fast, they gank pretty hard early. I would expect to see those junglers. They're pretty safe to play most of the time. AP junglers, they really, really like the changes to experience, like the ability to power farm, things like Karthus and Italy, but those changes to gold do make it difficult to get runic echoes. What I really want to see, however, the biggest change to me is mid-jungle priority in all cases has already been strong. I think that gets even better. Having a mid laner come along with junglers to get really successful ganks and then keep your timing up, keep that pathing up as best you can is going to be absolutely pivotal. That's how you maximize your effectiveness as a jungler. Roam around with your mid laner as best you can, take these objectives, take skirmishes. That's how you really win the game right now.
Now, there's also a couple of changes to a few lethality items that I want to get into. But first, I want to talk about the most important role in the game. And that's the role I play, Rebel. Support. Because support items have changed. You no longer need to invest gold. You automatically get those upgrades. We are in picks and bans, though. So we'll hold that thought until we do get into spectator delay. Akali Thresh being banned away here so far.
Yeah, Jace being taken away, too. Again, there's a lot of value right now in having champions who can push out the mid lane, who have the ability to skirmish very early, which is why things like Akali and Jace do have priority. Thresh also got a pretty decent buff with the changes to the support items, as you were talking about. The ability to execute minions with that relic shield now under 30%. At least it's been so long that Thresh has used Relic Shield or not used Relic Shield because of the inability to have that execute. Now that he's got it, it just feels so much better to play Thresh.
I was actually going to bring that up because I wasn't aware of that, but it's good to know that Relic Shield does now work on Thresh, as you mentioned, a solid buff. So that Thresh is going to be getting banned away, as you mentioned, the Jace as well. Yi, Zoe, and Vladimir are the 3 final bans. The Dawn Premier are on blue side. They will be getting first pickup, and one of the kind of changes we've been seeing coming through is the strength now with the static shiv and that storm racer in the ADC role.
Yeah, there's a couple new builds that have kind of come about in that. Senna actually locked in first overall. This is really the first week that you've been able to lock her in. Most of the time she's perma-picked or perma-banned. So before we were actually starting, we talked about it a little bit. And really, Milky was the one, our producer as well, had reservations about taking a blind pick Senna. Maybe you can elaborate on that for us.
So the issue with blind picking a Senna is if the enemy picks something with CC, so the best counters here are Leona, Blitzcrank. Leona, you just go in on Senna. If you land your E, Senna is dead. And one of the cool things that I've been noticing is with the introduction of the alcoves, if you go Hex Flash, there you go, the Leona getting hovered, as the Truman State know exactly what they're doing. Watch this Leona. Either she's going to go your standard Aftershock and then Domination secondary for extra burst damage, or she's going to go for that Hex Flash. She's going to be looking to go around the alcove, Hex Flashing over, finally picks onto the center. All they need is an aggressive ADC. There's going to be a whole chunk of damage coming out onto Senna, and it's going to make her life a bit of a misery in lane.
Yeah, certainly a champion that has early struggles on. And then Rixai actually locked in here. That's an interesting pickup. Again, this is something that has priority. Another one of these junglers that has good AoE, isn't as affected by the gold changes specifically. Clears relatively fast. You can build Tiamat, but it's not necessary. But also ganks very hard. Again, one of these kind of AD junglers don't feel the effects nearly as difficult. And then Xayah locked in. Again, there were changes a little while back, made her a little bit weaker. Alongside the Senna, that makes this lane pretty susceptible. As you said, this Leona going to be a very positive thing. But we'll have to see kind of how that lane plays out.
And as you mentioned, those junglers with, the strength of an early clear, slightly more prioritized the Rek'Sai coming in for Dawn Premier. As at Truman State, they pick up the Olaf, a champion that you particularly highlighted. Vel'Koz, Yasuo, two of the bans as we are in the second and final ban.
Yeah, that is the case. Both teams, I think, waiting around to look for an absolute secure. We don't know really Truman State. That Heimerdinger could be bot lane or it could be in one of the solo lanes. We'll have to wait and see. It's typically is played more in the bot lane than anywhere else. But again, I'm not going to discount the fact that anybody could play it. On the opposite side, though, you have your bottom lane locked in. They locked in two non-priority champions. Maybe they feel comfortable with the Xayah and Senna in the laning phase. And then that Rek'Sai, again, that's something meta to see. So that's pretty nice. Neither solo lane, though, locked in here for Dawn Premier. They're going to have to wait. They're not going to get at least one counter pick. One of those champions is going to have to be blind picked here.
Yeah, and another thing that I want to mention, and this is kind of my own personal thoughts, but I used to think back before we hit the preseason that late game scaling comps were slightly better than early game scaling. Now, that might be completely wrong, and besides the point, because now I feel that early game scaling comps are good, because if you can get the priority around the Drakes, you can get that Elder Drake faster than you could previously. And we were talking before we came live, the new Elder Drake, that execute damage, if you get Elder, you have practically won the game.
I think what a lot of the Dragon changes did is they made it a lot more about understanding how your win condition actually plays out in the course of a game. If you play a late game scaling comp, that's fine, but you have to understand you can't play pure late game. You lose all those Dragons, you use that that Elder Drake, like you said, and then you've lost all of your ways back into the game. But on the other hand, if you play early and you want to play for those Dragons, you really have to press the advantages you get, otherwise you're going to fall off. So I think a lot of these changes do make a massive impact in how your team composition, if they're winning or how they win, you need to execute them on a lot more cleanly than before. It was a little bit easier with that tower gold being more accessible, all that tower plating that would come about, those kinds of things.
Now, if you're confused, that Braum is not a Braum, it is a Fiora for Truman State. The Kel will get locked in for Dawn Premier, and we were kind of talking about the early late game scaling. The Senna Kel towards that late side will be stronger. Of course, Senna has that stacking with the souls. Rek'Sai, though, early, so a little bit of early priority potentially coming through from the jungle, maybe looking to counteract the aggression we're going to be seeing from Truman State in the bot lane.
Yeah, interesting also to see the Ornn locked in here. That's probably a top lane pick. Not bad into the Fiora, certainly something that has the ability to play early, just not fantastic in terms of the late game scaling, especially with all that true damage that can be brought out from a Fiora. She will get aggressive if she's able to make it to that 2-item mark.
And now the final question is, what ADC are we getting, or is it even potentially a Heimerdinger ADC? I doubt it.
I doubt the Bard.
Okay, I doubt the Bard as well. We'll wait and see what it is. Bard is Kennen, so it is a Heimerdinger AD... Wait, Braum is Fiora and Bard is Kennen.
That's a little interesting, yeah. So they have a couple of flex picks here. Again, Heimerdinger, Kennen, both may be capable of going into the bottom lane. I would expect Heimerdinger to go down there. The big question, though, is what are they using the Fiora pick for? Did they pick it purely as a counter? Or did they, because you could take Fiora as a counter to the Kayle. It's a little bit more early focused than the Kayle is, and scales immaculately alongside the Kayle. It's one of the very few picks that is capable of fighting a late game Kayle under certain circumstances. But I don't know how it fits into the pure mid game, or if it wants to slot into that mid lane, how well that's going to go.
Something I do want to bring up is the Kennen, and I feel like maybe the Kennen looking towards a bot lane, because I've been seeing some comments here and there about Kennen ADC potentially being back. Now, Kennen does have a fair bit of CC in his kit, and I'm just thinking, again, I'm looking at that center, bullying out the center, because if you get those picks onto the center, you can win your lane hard. However, I was casting another game the other day, and they got the picks onto the center, but the team comp didn't quite work that well together. When I look at Truman State, though, this looks like a decent 5-man comp.
Yeah, it's something that has a lot of priority in the laning phase, especially if that Fiora is meant for the Kayle. Even in the Ornn lane, it's actually pretty good. But you're talking, Heimerdinger has a lot of wave control. Kennen and Leona, if that is the case in the bot lane to abuse the Senna and Xayah lane, they're going to have early priority. And then the Olaf also, not necessarily having to be this massive ganking tool, could be more so to gotta gate the Rek'Sai, make sure he can't get out on the map and win some of the lanes for these late game scaling champions, which means to me, Truman State currently has the advantage when it comes to jungle changes, when it comes to these dragons, when it comes to these objectives in the earlier stages of the game, which really, really plays into their favor. My question is, how well do they operate on this composition they've designed in order to secure the objectives that they absolutely need to? If they wait and get the Xayah, the Senna, the Kayle in the late game, that's going to be rough to deal with.
Yeah, and of course, that late game scaling will be massive, of course, with those Ornn items as well. So we wait for the players to start up the in-lobby. Okay, as we're going to be heading into a short break first, though, but don't worry, we'll be right back, so stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We do apologize for the pause, but we are back. However, we're going to have to go back into picks and bans for a second time, as Truman State have had to pull out an E-sub, as Strel Taco is going to be replacing Team Anjaris in the top lane. Now, Rebel, how much of a change do you reckon we're going to get from what we saw in the first draft?
Like I said, we saw quite a bit of strategy that came out from both sides. With a new player in the top lane, I think there's a lot different strategy that could be run out of the composition from the side of Dawn Premier. So I would expect them to change things up a little bit. Expect the same general concepts to come out in terms of like junglers, in terms of like bottom lane. But yeah, from the side of Dawn Premier, I would expect them to play a little bit more around top side with this substitution.
Well, let's see whether they do put more focus in towards that top side. Last time they drafted that Ornn and the Rek'Sai. The Rek'Sai early aggression, I'm sure, will be welcome once again for Dawn Esports. But let's see if they take something a little bit more aggressive in the top lane.
They're already taking advantage of that knowledge. Dawn Premier bans away the Olaf, not willing to deal with that champion anymore.
Yeah, Dawn Premier say, we forgot about the Olaf. We're going to ban that one away now. Pick something else, buddy.
Yeah, we'll have to see whether they have another one of these 80 champions kind of up their pool for the side of Truman State, or whether that Olaf was really the only thing, so they might swap to something else here. Zoe and Thresh were consistent from last ban. Also, Heimerdinger actually taken away, not willing to let them have that either. That's a lot. That's a lot of picks taken away from last game for the side of Truman State.
Yeah, Dawn Premier redeciding what their priorities are in the drafting phase quite heavily. Now, in the last draft, there was an Akali and a Jace banned as well. Those two are now open, as Truman State, they ban away the Kayle from Dawn Premier. So let's see whether that Akali and Jace might be making it into the Truman State lineup. However, with a new top laner, maybe there won't be that kind of focus. And I was saying before we came back, hopefully we won't be seeing the setter getting locked in straight away. But it is, and I will be very surprised if we don't. Oh, Rebel, you got what you wanted. It's the Rise.
What do you mean what I wanted? I'm glad to see Rise. Rise is one of my favorite champions. If I had to assume, due to the fact that they changed up their draft a little bit, that's more of a preference for Strel Taco. Also, letting Leona through the draft for Dawn Premier means they are arrogant about this Senna in the bot lane. They don't respect maybe what the Leona is capable of doing. So not willing to adapt to that little... Like I said, if they're willing to first pick Senna and they're willing to let Leona through the banning phase, clearly they feel comfortable playing the champion.
Clearly they do. However, Truman State, they did pick up that Kennen, which we assumed was for the bot lane. We'll see whether they do that again, as a Rek'Sai will once again be locked in for Dawn Premier, as they have their final pick of the first round, as the Vladimir is going to be hovered and will be locked in.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice pickup here for either the mid or the top lane. That was banned away from them last time. I assume that was specific target ban towards one of these two. Now letting it through, they probably have an easier lane for one of them. Specifically, like I said, I think top lane, it's a pretty good pick, especially into the likes of Rise, if that's where that is being taken. It's pretty free lane to not die for the Vladimir.
And the Kayn will get locked in. Let's go. Yeah. This should be a fun one.
I got to admit, there's a lot of things about Kayn that I love this patch. I honestly think he might arise as a pure, like one of the top junglers. He was already super strong in the meta. He clears insanely fast, and his ganks early and his dueling potential means he can control the river like very similarly to the way Rek'Sai does. The difference between him and a lot of early game champions is that he scales pretty well later too. If you're able to find this good balance between getting these stacks, getting those kind of points to be able to evolve Kayn into one of his two forms, and being able to power farm the way that Kayn is capable to, it's a fine line to walk, but if you're able to do it, I believe Kayn is really one of the strongest champions you can pick in the game right now.
Right, we'll get back to that Kayn pick in just a second. The Yasuo, Xayah, Ornn have been banned away. Dawn Premier did pick up that Xayah to lane with the Senna when we did the draft first time around. Dawn Premier with their final ban now. Again, I want to see a bit of focus on the Caitlyn, because I personally think Caitlyn is probably the strongest ADC out there right now with the changes that we've seen to the Kerchis Shard and the Stormrazor. But it will be the Kennen ban, respecting what Truman State picked up last time.
Yeah, changes to the draft certainly going to come through here. As you said, that Caitlyn's super strong right now. I don't think it's out of the ballpark also to pick something like Kai'Sa. That Storm Razor still does what it's supposed to do for her, and it's a lot stronger now. Curtis Shard, very strong on her as well. Eye on the hover at the moment.
Sion will be getting hovered, which also means that that Rise is going to be going into the mid lane for I Abuse Yordles. All that's left is the ADC pickup. And once again, Truman State will leave that to their final pick. Dawn Premier will have to lock in their ADC and confirm whether that Vlad is going to be in the top lane or in the mid lane.
Yeah, that they will. Interesting to pick out solo lanes that are relatively easy to spot out. Again, there's some flexibility between mid and top with the Rise and the Sion, depending on who's comfortable with what. But as you said, more than likely the Rise heading towards the mid lane. Shen top's going to be pretty decent matchup actually for both Rise and Sion, whoever they feel like wanting to go there. And I assume that's going to be Vladimir in the mid lane position, unless they really want to flex here and go Senna Shen in the bot lane. That would be a hard flex for game one here, but we'll see whether they want to opt for something like that.
The Caitlyn is going to get hovered and will get locked in. Hey, I made a prediction. Yay!
You did. Yeah. The Prophet, Milky cereal.
There we go. There's a reason this is a prophecy cast. Right, Truman State, though, their final pick. What do they want to take into the Caitlyn? You mentioned the Kai'Sa. We'll have to see whether Truman State want to put some focus on that.
The problem is Caitlyn's a pretty strong early game champion here. I think it's difficult to find something that works with Leona. They do need to win the lane, though, on the bottom side here. That makes sense.
A Mumu ADC. Talon. Which Rise ADC?
Okay. All right.
Rebel, this is your territory here. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to grab some popcorn and I'm going to let you explain this one to me.
I don't know if I can, honestly. Rise does have quite a bit of wave clear. Again, I also want to see, there's possible shenanigans here being played with, like, Sion. I've seen a weird adaptation with an AD Sion in that bottom lane position before. That's a really niche pick, but it's something that has existed in the past. Talon, super strong champion right now, like insanely strong for the priority he brings in the mid lane. You're talking he has push pressure, he has solo kill pressure, he can roam around and support junglers and skirmishes really well. He roams around the map insanely. Like, Talon is the perfect champion to play in the preseason, especially with someone like Kate. The amount of damage these two can bring to early laning phases, especially into very squishy bottom lane like the Senna and the Caitlyn, that's going to be absolutely invaluable. And we're going to see Sion is locked in the top lane. So yeah, this is most likely a Rise in the bottom lane, unless they really are flexing the talent to bot lane here. I'm going to wait before doing any analysis on what's bot lane until I see what it is.
Okay, now, while we wait for all of this to get hovered, while we were in the break, okay, it's revelation time. It is a Rise ADC. Let's go. Or Rise APC, I should say. Now, while we were in the break, there was a lot of time that we had, and you were kind of explaining to me how the new Conqueror works, and you were saying that you can take it on a few champions that you definitely could not take it on before. And all I've been able to do is, as the teams have been hovering new champions, I've been counting in my head how quickly can they proc their Conqueror now. So do you want to just quickly explain how this Conqueror has changed and what its effects have been?
Sure. So before, what it was is that you could stack it on auto attacks and on single spell hits. Stacking it would give you true damage over the course of time and also give you some healing back as you begin to stack it. It stuck around a lot less time for range champions, which meant that melee champions are pretty much the exclusive users of this rune. Now, what happens is you have to stack it 10 times in order to get full effectiveness. You get adaptive force for doing so. And once you reach 10 stacks, it begins to give you post-mitigation healing, which is nerfed, but still something that's beneficial for you to stack in the end. Now, the thing is, spells actually stack Conqueror 2 times, as well as melee auto attacks. Ranged auto attacks only stack once, which means ADCs like Caitlyn, if they're only auto attacking, will require 10 auto attacks to fully stack it. Rise, on the other hand, his abilities will stack it 2 times per spell proc, which is a very, very fast way to stack up the Conqueror. I think it's a pretty good rune to take on any sort of machine gun champion. Rise, Cassiopeia, you can experiment it with like Azir, and then I've also actually seen Aurelion Sol, which low-key could be very, very strong. But there's plenty of runes that all of these champions use outside of Conqueror. It's just now much more viable for mages to take this rune.
Right, and I want to do something that might be classified as eating my words, because I said before that the Leona was going to dominate this center in lane. We've got the cannon picked up. Now we've got a Rise picked up. I don't know what happens in this bot lane. If this wasn't an ADC, I'd say, you know, sure, if there was a Kai'Sa, a Varus, a Lucian, anything, I'd say, okay, they can win this lane. But we are in the realms of the unknown here, Rebel. And I think on that note, we're going to head into a break and we'll see what happens when we make our way onto the Rift. Oh, pardon me, I do apologize for that. First of all, we would like to make a quick thank you to some of our sponsors, to Kono Keyboard. If you're looking to take your game to the next level, it all starts with your peripherals. From keyboards to keycaps, mice, and more, our friends at Kono have got you covered. Kono works with the world's best designers, inventors, and makers to bring you some of the best gaming peripherals around. Kono have been huge supporters of us here at Upsurge and have made generous contributions to our prize pool. If you need to find a new keyboard and more for your setup, we can't recommend anyone better than Kono. For more information, head over to kono.store to check out all they have to offer. That's KONO.store. Kono, discover amazing products. With that said and done, we're going to head into a break this time, and we will see you guys on the Rift. Stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are on the Rift for Game 1. Dawn Esports Premier taking on Truman State University Esports. And if that draft wasn't enough to spice it up, well, guess what? You get to see the draft in action now. Rebel, this one's going to be nutty.
That it will, yeah. Especially all these changes kind of compounded at once alongside some of these like crazier drafts as we've been highlighting means there's going to be some exciting gameplay woven in like throughout what we're going to see here. As you said, the Senna in the bot lane, something that can aggress against. The Rise on the opposite side. We have Kane. We have Talon in the mid lane. Like there's going to be a lot of movement around the map and a lot of fighting.
Yeah, and one thing that we were discussing while we were in break is the amount of roam potential from the side of Truman State. The Scion ult, Kane being able to travel through walls, the Talon E as well. This team can rotate so quickly and punish so well.
Yeah, that they can. The amount of like map presence they can have with all of this mobility, with all of this potential to roam around, is going to be massively impactful for how this game kind of plays out. If they can take advantage of it early, especially the Talon specifically, he has a lot of wave clear advantage on the Vladimir. His roaming around and supporting the Kane's endeavors when he tries to skirmish, tries to gank a lane, or his support of one of these side lanes is going to make a big difference.
Both junglers will be starting on their red side as Brosen opts to go for the solo clear on to the Raptors. I guess certain things don't change in League.
Yeah, it is really fast clear here for Kane to be able to go Raptors and then red into his Krugs. He still clears it pretty much faster than just about any champion in the game.
All right, here we go. Now, level 1 is where Darwin on this Senna should have a little bit of an advantage being able to poke down the Rise. Leo has a good engage in the mid lane. Yordles takes down Gentry very low indeed. We're going back to the bot lane.
Textbook level 2 all in from Talon, chunking down. What is it like? It was originally, I think, of like 75% of Vladimir's health, but this healing and this health potion from Vladimir.
There we go. And the Zenith Blade Shield Daybreaker lands as soon as they get level 2. Shredster and President Lax getting to that level 2 power spike just a little bit quicker than the Dawn Esports bot lane, and they try to use that for a bit of a punish, but Leo takes the turret shot.
That's correct. A little bit of trading back and forth here in the bottom lane. The range advantage between the Senna and the Caitlyn does make the Rise's job a lot more difficult when it comes to how he manages his positioning in this laning phase, especially now that the wave is kind of stuck on their side.
Oh, Rek'Sai's coming from behind. Zenith Raider will be able to land Rue Present as well, but First Blood goes to Cryo Netgear.
Just too easy for the Rek'Sai to be able to come over the wall right there. He finds a very simple gank path, no warding out in the river from the side of Truman State, and so they get punished very heavily. Again, the Rise, the whole purpose behind this is to keep the lane pushed, but that just frees up the lane to be aggressed on by this Rek'Sai pick.
And this is something that we talked about as well, you know, the Senna Caitlyn slightly abusable by that Leo. You have this early game Rek'Sai, will they be able to use it? Will they be able to keep this bot lane safe? Well, Rek'Sai's gone and done one better than that, getting First Blood over onto Cryonet.
That he has. I believe he's attempting to counter jungle the blue here, but it's going to get spotted out on a ward. Yeah, it does actually get spotted out on a ward. I don't think anyone's moving towards it. Kane took the entire top side jungle away from Rek'Sai here.
As the jump forward from I Abuse Yordles. Can't quite get that third attack off though, but he will go in. Sanguine Pool comes through, Yordles will back out, and fairly even trade. Both mid laners pretty low.
That will. Again, Vladimir has a sustained advantage in this matchup, so every time an all-in comes through from Talon, he has to respect potential.
Oh, here we go. Kane will land a W, goes in on a turret, flash out by Gentry, and will stay alive.
Yeah, pretty nice right there. Rek'Sai sitting once again on the bottom side of the map. We can see another engage or attempted engage here.
Oh, Zenith Blade in, and this is the moment for Rek'Sai to go, but Shredster already finds a kill onto Darwin. Now they can look over to Dweb. Shredster gets taken low, but so much damage coming through from the overloads.
Yeah, pretty nice. The Stack Conqueror starting to really pay dividends in that fight. Really nice from the Rek'Sai. He attempts to get another gank off into the bot lane, really put them behind, but unfortunately, having this Senna, as you said, it's easily able to be aggressed against by this Leona pick. That hard engage, all this single target damage coming from Rise onto a squishy champion does make her life pretty difficult in the laning phase. So just gets nuked out before having that Rek'Sai come in for support.
5 minutes in, 2 kills, 1 for both sides, and they're both in the bot lane. first Drake of the game is a mountain as well. So let's see if either team will put some early priority towards that.
Mountain Drake is an intensely strong Drake now, giving you percentage armor and magic resist is beneficial for every champion in all situations. There are times in which having that extra AD, especially on somebody like the Scion, isn't going to be as effective, but having armor and magic resist means he gains a lot more when he has that armor and magic resist to kind of amplify. We see actually mid lane here.
Looking for the gank in the mid lane. Here we go. Level 6 already for Gentry, though. Will look to turn this around. Dread stays here, and the Shield of Daybreak will land. Surely nothing for Gentry to do as the Ignite is down. Brosen will pick up the kill, but that is a good Void Seeker. Not quite enough to take down Brosen on that Kane.
And not quite. Really nice plays again. They're trying to get this talent ahead. He now has his Tiamat completed, and kills going over to Kane and Leona, meaning they have a pretty decent advantage on two champions that can make massive impacts in fights. Kane specifically gaining all of these points towards the transformation is huge early on in this game.
And we'll have to see whether he goes for that blue or red form as in the top lane. Strel Taco looking aggressive. He has the unstoppable onslaught available, but will decide against it after the Shadow Dash is used by Wenson.
Okay, ooh, another Q coming out here. Strel Taco is actually the substitute top laner here, and he's bullying out Wenson right now on the Scion pick. You gotta respect that.
And he's got the ult, so he can go in whenever he wants. Speaking of going in, Brosen's here. Brosen, oh, the taunt will land. Is that quite enough to take Brosen down? Good flash out. Brosen will be able to escape, and he picks up the kill.
A great taunt there in an attempt from Wenson to try to get it to return kill underneath of that tower. The ultimate was, I believe, the intention here from the Kane to make sure that he wouldn't take any damage when he was under there, but did get taunted, end up bursting him, so has to burn the flash to get out. Nonetheless, again, the Kane has been very active in the early game, exactly what you'd want from a jungler like this. He clears very fast as well, so he's going to be able to pick up most of his camps. Double TP bot lane.
And Dev and the Smash will be able to find the knockup onto Wenson, but no further collapse from Truman stay as Strel will look to make his way back up towards the mid lane, but collapse here as there comes the ultimate onto Gentry as Stand Unite will follow. Focus onto Wenson. They are going to be able to find the kill, but Shredder is in the meat grinder. Dweb is the focus right now, and Streltaco will find the kill. While all this is happening, Shredder stays alive and makes his way back to the team, and now the focus is going to be on the Mountain Drake.
Yeah, with no jungler up right now and most of your champions remaining relatively weak, the Vladimir, the Caitlyn specifically, require a few items to contest. Really, your fear is you're going to not be able to contest here. Yeah, nice secure of the Mountain Drake. Nice little fight around the side as well. IB's Yordles actually might be... I'm not going to get punished too heavily from a Vladimir at this point.
Not just yet. Anyway, Gentry will be waiting to get that 2-3 item power spike before he can potentially start to turn this game around. Already 5 killed in favor of Truman Stay, and they've got themselves a hefty 2k goal lead. We haven't even hit the 9-minute mark.
Yeah, no, they do not. And again, a lot of that is on these two roaming champions out of the mid lane. That's exactly where you'd want the gold. The Talon having the Tiamat and the mobility boots means he can be anywhere on the map at any time, pretty much on a moment's notice without losing much experience in the mid lane. And the Kane really, really working heavily towards that transformation, coming pretty close to it. I'm not sure exactly how close he is, but...
We talked about that roaming potential as well. I've used Yordles. Hasn't picked up those Moby boots as well as, well... Wenson looking aggressive on Strel Taco, but Strel says, you don't want to fight me. And here comes the Kane once again. The Shadow Dash will find the taunt, but Wenson will be able to get out of the decimating smash. And Rosen will be forced to back off.
Yeah, the intention here again, the constant aggression into a lot of these melee lanes, or at least up towards the top side of the map, is not only a byproduct of just what is available to him on the map. I really think it's Kane attempting to try to secure himself red form in this one.
As we see Dweb making his way up towards the top side as, oh, for some reason I'm not on direct camera, so I missed that. Okay, Dweb getting focused down by Brosen, and there we go, the Prey Seeker, the Void Dash coming in. Wenson gets taken down pretty low. Strel Taco looking for the kill. Will be able to find a flash forward. Decimating Smash picks up the double kill.
Yeah, really, really funny interaction there. You got to see the Kane ultimate and the Rek'Sai ultimate go off at the same time, so they just kind of disappear from the map. Still, great fighting all around the map here. Vladimir attempts to go top in response to Talon's roam towards the bottom lane, and neither play actually works out. Stroll Taco and Tabrosin just too strong on these champions in this early game, and of course the Talon just abusing this early game that's so difficult to manage here for the Senna. Already down 2 deaths in this laning phase.
Yeah, the Senna having a tricky time, but of course, they do have the scaling that Senna will scale well, as will the Vladimir, of course. So there is the way back in for Dawn Esports if they can just limit their loss in these early stages of the game.
Yeah, that they can. As you said, the Senna has some pretty good scaling. Also, Caitlyn going to have some good scaling. Having the Storm Razor early is a great place to start to aggress onto this tower and onto this bottom lane in general against the Rise. I think if they have a little bit of jungle pressure come down from this Rek'Sai, that's where you can see a lot of the impact that can be made. But it is
Collapse coming through.
one.
The Realm Warp will come in. Can they find the engagement? Darwin Solar Flare will land. Senna's played as well. Good night, Senna. And that's another kill going over to Truman State.
Yeah, nice little play onto the bottom side setup with that Realm Warp. Not to mention, Tabrosin on this Kane pick already has this red transformation. He has opted for that sustain and CC route.
Grip is here, will be able to find a spot. He gets the knock up. The rest of the team is not here. Walks through the wall, but there comes the ultimate. However, turnaround coming in from Yordles will be able to find the return kill, and it is just going to be a 1-for-1.
The overextension from Tabrosin there is punished, thankfully, by a well-positioned Rek'Sai on that bottom side of the map. But again, it's just the roaming potential from this talent is too hard to punish. They actually have to put Vladimir in the top lane out of fear of him getting abused even more by this talent. So now Shen is the one holding down this lane, and he doesn't have much in the way of wave control either. So it's just so difficult to keep this talent in place and make him stay where he doesn't want to be. He's just going to be around the map, continuing to abuse all of these fights that are going on.
And Gentry getting poked down by Strel Taco as well right now. And here comes Yordles, as that's going to be the Stand Unite following. Jump over the walls. Yordles trying to get out of this one, but he's taking a lot of damage. A flash E, and Yordles will be able to escape to safety.
Yeah, I can appreciate the fact that he actually bailed away from that play very early to make sure there was no threat of him getting taunted under tower and just dying, giving away a massive 300 gold bounty. So nice decision making there from iAbuse Yordles, likely from Strel Taco, also talking him through that one. Communication between those two to call off the play early. Pretty impressive.
I want to take a look at the CS discrepancies, because in the mid and top lane, big advantages for Truman State, but in the bot lane, a big advantage for Cryo Nepgear.
You can see the kind of advantage that can be gained just from having the double range champion into the Rise. Even with Leona around, it's still difficult to manage against these two champions. Now, Cloud Drake's actually on the table. I believe Mountain's already been taken by the side of Truman State, so this is going to make their second dragon.
And it means that the map will change, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Ocean.
Ooh.
Yeah. So important thing about Ocean is it makes a massive impact on the map, adding brushes. That's a lot of, to me, most importantly about the vision control of the game is these brushes. They make such a massive difference when you're putting wards down in the jungles. They also apply brushes in different places where you can create stealth vision, things like this.
And here we go, the collapse coming in. We talked about how important vision was to focus on Dweb, and they find the kill. iAbuse Yorda picking that one up. As here we go, Zenith's Blade to focus on to Cryo Nepgear. They'll find the kill, and now they look for more. Shredster tanks up the damage, but President will get taken down, and now they're looking to find the Vladimir flash on the turret. They'll be able to find the kill. Zenith's Blade coming through as well. Wenson is the only man alive, and it will be 4 kills for 1. Back on the turret we go, and that's the double kill going over to Brosen, and now the first turret of the game will be getting secured here by Truman State University.
Again, that immediate collapse onto the bottom side of the map. You have the Kane, you have the Talon instantly ready to go on the bottom side, and then that ultimate also from the Scion, bringing him in for the full 5-man combo. And there's just nothing you can do. You're already down a significant amount of gold. You've lost pretty much the entire early game here, and you're getting dove under a first-tier tower. There's very little that can be accomplished on any champion. Now, Twice, I believe, is trying to get something back, but
the Prey Seeker almost cancelled the backs. However, it wasn't needed because Truman State backed off anyway. Played it safe instead. Now, Rift Herald is up on the Rift. Next Drake, obviously, now that we have got the Ocean Soul, all the Drakes from here on out will be Ocean Drake.
That's correct, yeah. Not only the transformation of the map, but Ocean Drake in its own right, it no longer gives mana regen, but now actually regens health for in combat, which makes it a very, very different kind of power spike, power level than you would have seen before on what we had. Before it was out of combat for 8 seconds you had to be before that regen really kicked in, which sometimes is actually a little bit difficult to accomplish even in the laning phase. But right here, right now it's permanent mana or health regen across all fights and across all places. Now actually we see an engagement here. Shen has to be forced out of zone jungle. They're looking for first Rift Herald. Actually, I think it'll be the only Rift Herald in this game.
Not enough time for the second Rift Herald spawn. Shelly will get picked up, and well, there's a rather overstretched Wenson here. Realm Warp comes in, but the Shadow Dash right into the Leona. Absolutely nowhere for Shen to go, and the President-elect will pick up the kill, and now surely Shelly will get dropped down as well.
Most certainly. Really, really nice set of plays here. And again, they don't even need Talon now because Talon is capable of controlling this middle lane so well, pushing into anybody. This is a guaranteed top lane tower. They have Vladimir and Rek'Sai heading up here, but they still have pressure on the bottom side with Sion. Again, they're just pulling apart Dawn right now. It's just so hard for them to respond to anything because of how weak they are compared to this team, and how mobile this Talon and this Kayn have been. Makes it difficult to find any sort of individual engagements where they might actually have a chance of winning.
Yeah, and I also want to bring something else over. No. Oh no, here we go. Engage on the turret. The leap in. Shield of Daybreak won't be able to find his mark. Shredster takes a lot of damage and will get slain. Darwin finds the kill with the ultimate as the Kayn ultimate going through onto Cryo. Netgear will find the knocker back in. Finds a kill, but will get taken down under turret. And it's going to be 2 kills to 1 in favor of Dawn Esports.
Just a little bit of over-aggression. Diving under multiple turrets with the Shen ultimate up is never something you really want to play with. I understand they have a massive gold lead, just a little bit of miscalculation there. I believe you had a point to say before we started that little endeavor.
So I was going to say how we were talking about there's so much rotation potential for the side of Truman State to make their way to the bot lane, but we're also seeing that the bot lane isn't just the entire focus. They're using Shredster, Leona, a fantastic roaming champion. They came to mid early, they got a kill on 2 Yordles, which ultimately helped them massively to enable that talent to then roam back into the bot and top lane.
Yeah, again, this probably would have happened organically, whether the Leona helped out in the bottom lane or not, but forcing it like this was a great way of getting the Talon just spiked very, very quickly in the game. And more importantly, also, it's a really big denial over to the Vladimir. He had to build very defensively, has really only cooldown reduction. That Zonius to his name, only about 70 AP, not really what he wants. Really would like that Proto Belt, maybe a Spellbinder. Goodbye.
Oh, no. There's a Shadow Assault, and Yordles finds a kill so quickly. Absolutely nothing Cryo Netgear can do. And you mentioned this. Ocean Soul on the Rift. You have to have such good vision control, but all of the vision currently on the side of Truman State.
Yeah, these brushes do make it difficult. When a brush is obscured in a bush, it's a little harder to clear. You have to step into it, which allows for some cutoff advantages here.
Ocean Drake has spawned, and that will be the focus for Truman State as Yordles and Shredster just zoning the members of Dawn away as the Ocean does get secured. Here we go, unstoppable onslaught. Darwin forced to flash over the wall. Flash ball, decimating smash will find his mark as the Solar Flare comes down as well. They're looking for Wenson. Changes their focus over to Gentry as the Umbral Dash comes in, and Brosen picks up the kill as Shadow Dash away from Wenson will keep him alive as the portal through from Jueb. He finds a knockup, but it doesn't matter. Yordles will get taken down, but not until after the Rek'Sai himself will fall. The outer turret will fall in the mid lane, and that's all outers are down for the side of Dawn Esports.
It's shocking how effective this engagement was from the side of Truman State because they were on the dragon when the engagement actually started. They pulled off the dragon, immediately ran towards this Caitlyn and this Senna, and were still able to make a massive engage work with these long-range engage tools from the Leona, from the Sion. It's really, really cool to see. Unfortunately, Talon dying under that tower was the one blemish on this, but nonetheless, just spectacular fighting right now from Truman. The game's pretty much in their hands at this point, and they're sitting with 3 Drakes now. They have Ocean, Mountain, and Cloud Drake. That's a lot of flat stats, not to mention if they're able to pick up the Ocean Soul, it's going to be so hard for a team with the likes of like Vladimir and Caitlyn and Senna. That's less burst damage. It's a lot more consistent damage over the course of a fight. Vladimir can do some really good burst damage once he gets his items picked up. But beyond that, having that in-fight healing, having the abilities to sustain is going to be invaluable against two different marksmen.
Yeah, and there's something that I want to bring up as well. Oh, I'm going to have to hold that thought again because here we go. Unstoppable Onslaught comes in. They can't quite find Darwin, but the collapse is on. The chase is on, but it's going to be quite hard to get on to a very mobile Senna as the Yordle Snap Traps come through and the CC will land. As Darwin will be able to escape to safety.
Most certainly. Pretty nice little set of plays. Senna somehow able to escape right there. That's, I think, the first time we've seen anyone really get away from this Talon that really wanted to hunt them down. The value of that W is pretty nice. It's a pretty good escaping tool. It does take a while. We have another game.
Here we go. Jabrosa looking aggressive. Looks for Darwin. The Sandy Knight will come in. But is it too little, too late? No, Shen will arrive in time as Solar Flare landing onto Cryo Nepgear as the Zenith Blade will follow as well. Shredster just keeping Cryo out of the fight as Gentry does find the kill onto President Lax, but only after he gets taken down. Yordles will take a few healing fruits as it is going to be 2 kills for 1 once again in favor of Truman State University.
Yeah, that time was a lot less, less. I'm trying to think of a good way to say it. The execution behind that engage was very scattered across. Yeah, the execution behind their engage was very, very scattered across multiple things. And I think they just need a cluster. We have another fight.
Collapse coming in from Dawn Esports. The turret will get taken down. Zenith Blade comes in onto Wenson, who gets deleted. And that's another kill for Truman State. Now they look towards the inhibitor as well. Dawn just cannot find the damage. They cannot find the poke. They are so far behind. 24 kills to 7 in favor of Truman State. Almost a 10k goal lead at the 22-minute mark.
Yeah, just so hard for them to manage anything. And again, this vision is so hard to play for when you have all these brushes around it. You have to face check these just to get anywhere near them now. You see, this is a great ward to have because if you see it with the red, the sweeping ward that is, you're going to have to walk into the brush just to be able to kill it. That's really, really unfortunate. Better control for the
collapse
vision.
Coming in. The CC will land from Darwin. Solar Flare lands and Senna, good night. Dweb will use the portal through. TP gets channeled in, but it might just be a TP of death. Decimating Smash will land as the overloads come through. Wenson gets taken down. Vlad tries his best, but will also fall. Now they look for Cryo Nepgear on the Caitlyn. The W knockup will land and Cryo will get taken down. That makes a 4. Dweb is backing off. He will be able to back off in that time. Now the question is, does a Truman State want to go for the end, or will they just look for the Baron?
I think looking for the Baron is a much safer option. They have plenty of damage to work with across all of their members. The Talon doesn't provide, like, he has plenty of damage to work with, but I think they can do it with just the Rise if they need to. Kane's coming back out to the map right now. The one thing is most of this team is actually going to be back up from the side of Dawn, so I don't know that they're actually going to commit for it here.
Another thing this is what I wanted to bring up beforehand. We've seen turret dive after turret dive after turret dive from Truman State. They do not care. They're so far ahead. They just go in, and they're under turret for so long. Shredster just tanks everything up. He is so tanky. He is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's working primarily because of this massive advantage that they've accrued. If they were more even, it would be a lot more difficult to pull this off. This is the big Drake. This is the Dragon Soul, and it looks like it's actually going to go over a completely uncontested. This is really, really bad now from the side of Dawn Esports. This actually might just mean it might be the nail in their coffin.
As you mentioned, the Dragon Soul going over to Truman State, which also means that we've got an Elder Drake coming up in 6 minutes' time. That is, of course, if this game lasts for another 6 minutes. That Ocean Drake, though, should be pretty big. The permanent lifesteal available. Baron will get started, and, well, Truman State want to do everything proper. They want to take every single neutral objective and then go for a clean end. Baron is getting taken down as the smash comes in. Zenith Blade will land, but Shredster might have locked himself in as Unstoppable Onslaught comes in. There's a Realm Warp as well. Cryo Nepgear back into the meat grinder will get taken down. Yordles finds the second kill onto the center. Gentry surely will fall. That's the triple kill. All that's left now is a Dweb, and Shredster will deal with him. Keeps him out of the fight as the rest of the team look to end. And there comes the FF. Dawn Esports have had enough, and the game one at least goes to Truman State.
Yeah, exceptional strength coming out. Again, really, really nice understanding of how their composition needs to be played and just what is strong right now. Having both the Kane and the Talon in the early game succeed, and then pushing them around the map, won them lanes that they probably wouldn't have won otherwise. President Lax and Shredster, they got aggressed on early, had that early deficit as the Rise, and were still able to dig him out with these two champions. The other big thing to me was, again, Strel Taco. He's the substitute in this game. He was dominant in that top lane. In the laning phase, he was great in team fighting across the board. Makes me wonder why this guy's not starting for them anyway.
Yeah, I mean, could we imagine what Team Anjaris was able to do if he is better than Strel Taco?
Yeah, it would have been an absolute devastation.
Strel Taco, the only member not to die for Truman State. Also, we expected that Leona to do well. The Rise, though, worked out better than I anyway anticipated.
Yeah, it was a nice game from the Rise again. He kind of got off to that early deficit with the gank from the Rek'Sai, which put him a little bit behind. It was rough for the mid game, but once he started to get those items, once he had the locked in Seraphs alongside the Sword Shoes, he really started pumping out damage, especially since most of the damage from the side of Dawn was being pumped into the Talon, the Kane, the entire front line.
With that said, though, we're going to be heading into a short break, but don't worry, we're going to be right back with Game 2 between Dawn Esports Premier and Truman State University. welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as Dawn Esports Premier take on Truman State Universities as both teams vie for a semi-final spot in the Upsurge of Minor League Division 2 playoffs. Rebel, Truman State are on the verge of making it. They're 1-0 up. They just need one more win. Heading into drafts, what do you want to see? How do you want to see both teams approaching this?
Again, I thought it was a really impressive setup for what they wanted to do. IAB's Yordles looked amazing on the Talon. Taking away this kind of mid-jungle priority on the side of Dawn has to be, what their focus is in this drafting phase. There also wasn't a lot of positive, actually, from the side of, Dawn. They didn't find a lot of opportunities. Most of what they had was just overextension from the side of Truman State. So to me, they have to give themselves a win condition they feel comfortable executing on, because this last game, they just kind of felt like they were passive in their own game.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, all of the kills they got in that last game felt like overextensions from Truman State. But even with that said, it was Truman State getting way more kills than Dawn were able to, with the exception of that first kill in the bottom lane. With that said, though, we have begun picks and bans. The Thresh band away once again by the side of Truman State, as Dawn Premier will respect the Rice pick as the Zoe ban comes through as well.
Yeah, a little bit of denial into that bot lane. Must not have felt comfortable really playing the Caitlyn into it. Again, after that first gank, there really was not a lot of threat that actually went down in that bottom lane. So Heimerdinger also taken away. They were really pressing away from these mages in the bottom lane.
I'm not going to lie, if you had told me last week, Rebel, that I'd be casting a game where a Ryze ADC was getting banned for being too OP, I would have told you that you are high. But here we are. As the Kale, Heimerdinger, and Olaf getting banned away. This time, Truman State have a first pick, and it's going to be an Orianna. And I am not going to say that's mid lane, because I honestly feel Truman State can flex anything, anywhere right now.
That is a really unique pick. Like, again, after what we saw last game, we would expect a lot of aggression out of the mid lane, a lot of comfort, but we didn't really, we're not seeing that with the Orianna. As you said, I kind of suspect this is going towards the bottom side because of the control that Orianna can bring. Another one of these mages, potentially. It would be a really good call from you, and like just as the ability to read this, just because of the way that the rest of these lanes played out, to see this stylistic difference out of nowhere. Like I said, I wouldn't expect this big of a shift so rapidly after such success.
Yeah, and the Leona gets picked up by Dawn Premier, as does the Jarvan. Again, a decent early game jungler, or at least a jungler with a lot of gank potential early on. The Pyke will get locked in for Truman State, and it is a decent counter into that Leona.
Yeah, I do like that pickup quite a bit. I feel like Pyke is rather strong. He took some pretty hefty nerfs, and he's not as strong as he once was, but certainly still a pretty good champion, especially if paired with something like Orianna, because you have a lot of engage, ball delivery, and the ability to snowball that lane with the ultimate from Pyke is huge. Sion taken once again. That was a huge priority pick here from Strel. Thought he was amazing on that, and Vel'Koz banned out in the second phase. Probably something comfortable for the side of Dawn Premier.
Yeah, and you talked about that ball delivery. Well, signed with the Unstoppable Onslaught gives you a perfect ball delivery. As you mentioned as well, Dawn Premier will lock in the Vel'Koz as the Kayn Respect pick comes through, and the Xayah band once again away from the side of Cryo Nepgear in the bot lane.
Yeah, taking away anything. Right now, it looks like Dawn Premier, they've kind of opted away from this strange laning team composition, or this strange kind of like response team composition where you've got like Rek'Sai, Vladimir can stall the fight, Shen can stall the fight, Senna can stall the fight, and you're just like reacting to what's happening. Now you've got a really clean team composition, and actually you have a ton of wombo now. Misfortune coupled with Jarvan, Leona for engage, Vel'Koz for additional damage. You have a lot of straightforward CC and a lot of damage that can be coupled with that very, very nicely.
Yeah, the Misfortune though getting locked in for Dawn Premier here. Now, I knew last patch that Misfortune was starting to run a Kleptomancy. However, this patch, though, are we back to press the attack Misfortune?
Like I said, that was a really preference-based build. I think it's difficult to speak to as to like what exactly you'd want. I know actually, my apologies, the new Conqueror feels like something that could be strong.
Okay, I was about to effectively tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, there's a Rengar, but it is a Talon and a Sejuani. Once again, we're going to be seeing I Abuse Yordles on that Talon, Orianna in the bot lane, and, we've seen a lot of respect picks coming through from Dawn Premier, but they haven't identified, what was arguably the strongest pickup from from Truman State, which was that Scion and the Talon.
Yeah, and you have to, like, you also have to look. So the two solo laners got priority picks, and you also have a roaming champion in that bottom lane. Last time it was Leona. This time it's Pyke to be able to affect that middle lane early. The difference is also, though, Kayn is a lot better in terms of like early dueling potential, early ganking potential than Sejuani would be considered, because she doesn't have a ton of damage, a lot more sustainability and tankiness innately in her kit. She does have the CC that doesn't really exist in that Kayn until he gets that transformation. So maybe the intention here is to play a little bit more towards the team fight style as a response, and then if you find a skirmish, use the Sejuani CC to set up for Talon, and rather than having that double damage setup.
Yeah, now in game 1, we were talking about how, Streltak would substitute for Truman State, and we'd see maybe Dawn focus around this top side. Well, Ashen got picked up into a Scion. However, for game 2, it's a Mordekaiser that has been locked in, a lot more aggression, and with a J4, potentially we can see more focus towards this top side of the map.
That's correct. Yeah, it feels like a better lane matchup here for the side of Dawn Premier. Maybe actually they looked at that and Wenson was like, okay, the Scion was very comfortable into the Shen. It was abusing the Shen in the laning phase and was a lot better in the team fighting phase. This time, Mordekaiser a much better option into the Scion in terms of pure dueling potential, and then also has this kind of team fight dynamic where you can pull out a champion from the team fight. If you don't want Orianna in it, you don't want Pyke around it, if you don't want this Talon around the team fight whatsoever, you can pull them out so that the rest of your team can engage. Another really good tool is something like pulling Scion or Sejuani into the Death Realm so that there's no front line to tank this engage, to tank this Misfortune and Vel'Koz's ultimate. It's a really important thing to be able to pull away front line, and that exposes your Talon, that exposes your Orianna in the bot lane.
Yeah, that's ulting away that Sejuani could be very vital indeed. However, I'm looking to this bot lane though, because we saw something a little bit weird, I guess we could say, with that Ryze Leona in game 1. This time, it's an Orianna Pyke. How do we see this faring against the Misfortune Leona?
So last game they went with a range advantage into the Ryze. I know they weren't really expecting the Ryze into the bottom lane either, which is a little bit different. But the thing is in this particular game, Leona has a lot of ways to punish a lane like the Orianna Pyke. If Orianna's left to her own devices, it's a lot harder for a Senna to engage into her than a Leona. A Leona can absolutely engage to the likes of Orianna if left to her own devices when Pyke's roaming. The other thing is Misfortune, very heavy damage-based ADC, even into the mid game. So if you have a lot of this solid early game like we saw in the last game when you had that early gank, get that snowball going, it's going to be a lot harder for Orianna and Pyke to feel that, like, contribute to the game as it continues. Last time, Ryze basically had a free laning phase after dying the first time. This one, I think it's going to be a little harder to give the Orianna that free laning phase.
Another thing I want to bring up is the roaming potentials, because we saw in game 1, Shredster on the Leona could do whatever he wanted, whereas we saw Darwin on the center was kind of locked down in lane more. This time, though, Darwin's on the Pyke, which has a bit more roaming potential than the Leona, so we could be seeing a lot of emphasis on both of these supports potentially roaming to the mid lane, where, let's face it, Vel'Koz and Talon, very squishy target.
That's correct. I think both sides have also opted for a lot more pure laning in terms of what their draft has gone for. So in the last game, we saw things like I said, the Kayn and the Talon were really intended to move around the map. I actually think that Talon can abuse the Vel'Koz matchup very, very effectively. We saw it last game. He was abusing the Vladimir, who has a lot of sustain, a lot of safety with that W. It's difficult to kill a Vladimir early, even with something aggressive like Talon. This is a lot easier to do. All he has to do is dodge the tectonic disruption from the Vel'Koz, and he can get on top of the champion and kill it very quickly. That barrier is the only thing keeping Vel'Koz from dying for the most part. So I would expect to see him roam a little bit less, because it's a little harder to engage into a Jarvan, engage into either of the lanes. But now you've got a solid lane matchup that he can start to abuse early and then maybe start taking an advantage around the map.
And once again, we will be looking to iAbuse Yordle to find that advantage against Gentry. One thing we were mentioning in the last game is, we talked about how Shredster made his way up, but as you mentioned, it was slightly forced, but even organically, that would have ended up occurring. So are we going to be seeing a similar thing in the sense that, will, regardless, iAbuse Yordles on this Talon end up roaming? It's just a question of when, not if.
Yeah, like having the ability to just abuse of Vel'Koz and take advantage of mid lane, it also frees up Sejuani to have more space in the river. The other thing is Vel'Koz can support a Jarvan in a 2v2, but he is more susceptible to a pure engage from Sejuani from Talon with their mobility, with their longer range CC. So the 2v2 of Vel'Koz Jarvan versus Sejuani Talon, it is a lot different of a dynamic in this game versus the last one.
I would just like to bring a quick message from our sponsors, Midwest Esports. Midwest Esports has been around for many years, starting as a small student group out of Wichita State University. Since then, Midwest Esports has grown to be a veteran organizer to tournaments and events throughout the US. They host tournaments for games like League of Legends, Rocket League, as well as Overwatch. For more information, check them out at midwestesports.com. With that said and done, though, Rebel and I, we're going to be heading into a short break, but don't worry, we're going to be back for Game 2 and potentially the final game between Dawn Esports Premier and Truman State University. Stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we make our way onto the Rift for Game 2 between Dawn Esports and Truman State. Truman State University over on the blue side is Dawn Esports Premier lineup on the red side. 5-man stat coming in so far, though, Rebel, from Truman State. We took a couple of looks at the runes, and the only thing really standing out, though, is that from Shredder.
Yeah, Shredder does take the Predator rune here in order to actually roam around. Again, that's super indicative of the fact that he wants to be literally anywhere but bot lane in this one. Again, I don't know that that's a great decision given that Orianna is a lot easier to engage on, especially with the Leona in the bot lane, but we'll see how it works out. The other thing is that you could make an argument that there's a lot of ways to build Misfortune right now. I do think at the moment Conqueror is very, very strong if you're going towards a crit-based build, and that's something that could be a viable option. But with Press the Attack, you'd expect the Blade of the Rune King start.
And we'll have to see whether that Blade of the Rune King does get picked up, or if we see again. I'm going to hype it up because I personally think it's quite strong, that Static Shiv, as well as the Storm Razor, because now I believe it's flat 120 AP damage that it gives you off its drop.
Yeah. So if you're wanting to go more towards a Storm Razor build, I do believe that Conqueror is more effective in that particular damage output, but I could be wrong about that. It's pretty fresh patch. I'm not gonna make that claim definitively yet.
However, Spawn Trade coming through in the mid lane so far. Both the junglers starting on their red buffs, but Dweb looking to use that early game aggression of the Jarvan, instantly invading into the blue side of Truman State. As in the top lane, Decimating Smash will come through, trade in favor of Wenson.
Correct. Now, Sejuani heading up towards her top side. Didn't really spot out the Jarvan. Jarvan's actually heading up towards a gank onto the Scion, and they're going to spot out Sejuani pretty quickly here.
Sejuani will get spotted out by a well-placed red trinket as the dive in from Yordles. He takes a turret show, which evens out the trade somewhat.
That it does. Pretty unfortunately, he did take that, but the refillable pot should be a little easier for him to kind of come back to normal health. No gank top lane either, so he's actually looking mid lane potentially to punish the Jarvan for that turret shot taken. Although he's leaving quite a few of his camps up right now. Again, with those faster timers, it does punish you quite a bit to just kind of sit around and wait for ganks to happen.
So the rate comes out, it finds a little bit of a slow as Plasma Fission won't quite be able to find his markers. Nice sidestep from Yordles, but the Flag and Drag will be able to land. Flash forward, the Ray comes in, Ignite ticking down. First blood to Yordles. And now in the bot lane, the engage coming through from Darwin, but he'll step back as it's a 1-for-1 in the mid lane.
Yeah, absolutely instantaneous engage here from the Jarvan. Now we actually see Sejuani on the top side.
Here we go, Arctic Assault forward as the claw will come through. Flash away from Wenson, flash forward, will be able to find the CC. Do they have the damage? Turret shot comes through, Wenson finds a kill, and the Triumph will proc as well. Wenson will survive, and is another kill to Dawn Esports Premier.
Not a bad attempt there from the Sejuani to try to get something in the top side. Just wasn't able to get the damage off. Yeah, that's kind of the trade-off here. Jarvan has more damage in these gank situations than the Sejuani might, so not able to catch the Mordekaiser before he gets under tower. Does burn the flash, so there's some threat of a repeat gank.
Yeah, and speaking of that repeat gank, look who is already here. Dweb will chase Yordles towards the top side, where I'm sure Wenson will be looking to rotate down, but the Noxian Diplomacy in combined with the Rake. Jump away, Flag and Drag, flash Yordles though. He just hops right over the Baron Pit wall and will be able to get out to safety.
Yeah, the attempted EQ into the flash combo to try to knock up. Yeah, he's not really going to get anything.
He doesn't stop, does he? He just keeps on going.
No, yeah, absolutely. Dweb trying to get some more of his camps back. Not really, again, not having them off of spawn. I don't think this is really optimal pathing here from the Jarvan to be able to take as many camps, get the gold and experience he really needs to stay viable. So these ganks really have to start working if he's going to try to absorb more. Sejuani's on the bottom side of the map here.
Yeah, can they find the gank here? All lies on the Bone Skewer, and he will be able to find it. And there comes the Phantom Undertow as well. Darwin will be able to flash out and can survive. Dweb in the top lane looking for the pick onto Strel. Taco, Flag and Drag won't be able to find the knockup as the Decimating Smash. The shield comes through and the turret shot not enough to take Wenson low. Skill, 3 kills this game, 2 for 1 in favor of Dawn Esports, as we see Truman State are looking for the first break of the game, which is this Cloud Drake.
That Cloud Drake should be secured pretty easily. Also level 4 accomplished. Infernal Drake going to be the next one, so neither one of these two going to be stacked. So it's either going to be that Ocean again or the Mountain Drake coming through as that final map-altering dragon here. Pretty nice to have this Drake early again. The ultimates you've got on the side of Dawn are pretty nice. Again, you have two really big, actually three really big team fight ultimates in that Vel'Koz and the Misfortune ultimates for damage, and then the Jarvan to lock them in place, make sure they can't move. The Leonum ultimate also feels the effects of that Cloud Drake, so it's a really nice secure early on to deny that away from this Dawn Esports squad.
Now, something else that I want to bring up, something that we've been hyping up, but we haven't mentioned on it stream yet, is the Sanguine Blade. I'm not quite sure if Iabuse Yordles picked that up in Game 1. I don't think he did.
No,
but
yeah, he's not.
Do you think we could be seeing that in Game 2?
So the way that it works is giving attack speed when you're by yourself in a lane. The big thing about Talon is while he does push lanes pretty effectively, he's not really a split push assassin. Somebody like Talon loves to be more towards the team fight, likes to be more towards the close side of the map because the impact he has in a fight is massive. Somebody like Zed, when he impacts a fight, he's a lot easier to take out a single target and then to walk away rather than Talon's big AoE damage that can be used on multiple targets. So in my opinion, I don't think Talon really fits the mold of that split push assassin nearly as much. If he wants to be if he wants to use his mobility really to act as like an assassin that can move around. Oh, we've seen it late fight.
Bone plating, as here we go, the Shadow Assault will come in, but there's the Vel'Koz ultimate. Darwin somehow survives, Ignite ticking down, but Shredster will find the kill as it's a 1-for-1, but crucially, Gentry picks up his second kill of the game.
Yeah, really, really good for the Vel'Koz to be able to pick up a kill here. Just too much damage onto the Talon. Has no magic resist, has no really health whatsoever. So all those lack of defenses came back to hurt him in that Vel'Koz ultimate there. And also not enough burst damage to get through the Leona, who had the aftershock up. And unfortunately, the kill goes over to the Pike.
We will be getting the first Rift Herald of the game in half a minute. We'll have to see whether either jungler wants to focus towards a good old Shelly. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel like we need to have a new name because we can't have two Shellys now. So maybe we need to coin a new phrase. But we'll think about that afterwards. Something else I want to bring up is, we've talked about kind of the priority for early game junglers and how, the preseason meta kind of focuses towards that. We've got the Sejuani coming through, which is by no means an early game jungler. It's fared so far so good into Dwebers. Actually, I'll hold that thought because Wenson looking aggressive, but will back off.
Yeah, nothing much to be found right there. Again, actually really good trading once again from Strel Taco, constantly landing these Qs, these Ws, these Es onto this Mordekaiser. Nice pull.
A very nice bone skew indeed, but no full commit. Only 5 kills this game, 8 minutes in. There we go. The Glacial Prism will land. Flag and Drag comes in, finds a double knockup. Tectonic Disruption in as well, as the Plasma Fisher will find some extra damage. But here we go. Oh, the Bone Skewer will land, but the pull beyond death can't quite find the kill. Lag takes a second turret shot, and Dweb will find the kill, as that is going to be just one kill going over to the side of Dawn Esports. Shredster so unlucky with that depth from below.
Yeah, rather unfortunate. Not able to get the execute from 30% health. The barrier doesn't stop that either. It was just a miscalculation of damage coming out. Not to mention, if he waits just a second longer on that ultimate, President Lax flashes over the wall, gets the ultimate off, burns more of that health bar, and then the ultimate should execute that Vel'Koz, even if it is at the expense of an additional trade. You saw that they kind of 1v1, they stormtroopered into this fight using ultimate after ultimate, trying to get something done. Really, really nice plays. Also, the I think the Tectonic Disruption caught Iabuse Yordles during his attempted ultimate to try to kill the Vel'Koz during the Sejuani ultimate. And then the EQ came out from Jarvan, I believe, to deny some space here from the Orianna getting away. So really, really nice set of plays here from the side of Dawn.
Yeah. I feel like game 2 relative to game 1, Truman State have tried to do the exact same thing, but this time Winston hasn't been beaten in the top lane. And more crucially, this time Darwin is on a champion that can somewhat match these roams from Shredster.
Yeah, not only that, but the problem is also that there's no snowball coming out of the mid lane, so Talon's not able to affect the map in quite the same way that he would normally want to. The one thing they do have going for them are these Drakes are going kind of in their fashion, or in their way
Here we
right
go,
now.
Shredster again will find the Bone Skewer. They're looking for Wenson, who will get the Death Realm onto IBU's Yorls as the Shadow Assault comes through. Yorls will be able to get out. Decimated Smash not going to be able to find anyone. And another Bone Skewer comes in. A lot of damage from Gentry's ultimate. They find the kill on to Trobson as a lot of damage with the bullet time. Darwin gets taken down solo, but not enough to find a kill. 2 kills for nothing for Dawn Esports as the zombie sign gets taken down.
Yeah, and this is the difference in the draft here from the side of Dawn Esports. They want to team fight. They want to take these fights around these neutral objectives because they are the ones with the superior composition. You saw right there, Jarvan gets an amazing ultimate in the back of the team. Immediately, you got the Vel'Koz ultimate coming down. What I really like about it is that the Vel'Koz ultimate came down, but then it was not immediately the MF ultimate. She waited to use it until the attempted re-engage came through, and that gave her more damage, gave her a better ability to utilize that ultimate to really close out the fight and get an additional kill. It was great patience and great communication from this team. They're looking a lot cleaner, a lot better than what we saw in game 1.
Second Drake of the game has been secured, and we will be getting an Ocean Soul, but that doesn't matter because Glacial Prism misses. Tectonic Disruption will find both. Plasma Fission comes through, and the barrier Gentry will survive once again.
And they're so close every single time they try to engage onto Gentry, but this time he's not on the Vladimir. He doesn't have to get close to in order to apply damage. He gets to stay as far back as he wants, and taking this barrier has denied plenty of ability to trade for this Talon. If Talon had even one additional kill in this game, I'm sure at least a Gentry probably would have gone down at least one other time during the course of this game, but without that snowball, it's so hard to punish this Vel'Koz right now.
Something else I wanted to bring up, in the early stages of the game when we were praising Yorls for being able to escape these ganks, Gentry had about 28 CS, IBU's Yorls was only on 12, and we're seeing the effects of that currently as almost a 30 CS deficit 12 minutes into this game.
And again, there's no focus on roaming either from IBU's Yordle, so not only is he not doing well in his laning phase, he's not snowballing whatsoever, but he's not able to get anything anywhere pretty much for the most part. EQ missed!
EQ will miss, the Bone Skewer will not. Streltacker will pick up the kill as the depth from below comes through a little bit late, and Shredster won't be picking up that kill.
That they will, yeah, just a little bit. Finally, they get a nice engagement in their favor, looking for the Rift Herald as well. Right now, like I said, it's strange to me why they're bringing Leona to this top side of the map. They should be looking for an engagement more towards the bottom side into this Orianna. It's easier to punish her as a champ than it would be to bring the Leona up and try to just aggress into this pit with a numbers disadvantage. No Jarvan there to contest either, so not sure why exactly they're looking for this fight here.
Well, the Rift Herald has been started, and Shelly #1. Oh, it's the ultimate. It's too early because the sign goes in, finds the kill. Zenith Blade comes through. We'll be able to find the kill onto IBU's Yordles, but it is a 2-4-1, and the Rift Herald is secured for Truman State University.
Again, these fights have to be played together from the side of Dawn Esports, and they're not doing that right now. Big miscommunication, attempted, the attempted takeaway of the Rift Herald by the Vel'Koz and the Leona, despite the fact
flag
they
and
don't have
drag coming through. Never mind, Shredster able to get out alive.
Yeah, pretty easy. But yeah, it's just kind of, again, I don't know why you're not abusing the bot lane matchup if this Orianna's not able to stay in the same place or not able to contribute to the bottom lane nearly as heavily with the Leona down there. Plus, you've got a strong Misfortune. She needs to be in the fights as well. She can't just be denied the ability to contribute to these fights. Otherwise, you lose and you give back a lot of gold. The only part of that was actually decent from the side of Dawn is all of the kills in gold really went over to Sion, who isn't a massive part of the team fight quite yet. But when he becomes this massive barricade to actually engage into, it's going to become a lot harder to manage this.
Yeah, as Rift Herald, as we mentioned, has been secured. Pardon me, Streltaco does have that and could look to drop it in the top lane as the first turret of the game bonus is still available. We will also be getting a second Rift Herald, but there's only going to be about a 30-second window for that to get secured.
We'll see whether they're capitalizing that.
This is very aggressive from Shredder. A flag and drag will find 2 Cataclysm as well. Bullet time could come through, but it is not needed. 2 kills for nothing for Dawn Esports.
Yeah. Again, this bottom side is where they need to put this pressure on. You have a strong MF, you have the Leona for engage, and bringing the Jarvan down finally secures a really nice job. We got to see TP 3v3 coming out here.
The TP will come through, and it is going to be a 3v3. The CC will land from the Winter's Wrath, but they will all be able to get out as Strel's Taco's TP gets cancelled by Wenson using the Claw of the Doom.
Yeah, it was a nice... I don't think there was ever really the intent to actually engage there. We actually see more fighting in the top side here.
Another decimating smash will come out. Just a fairly even traders in the mid lane. The stopwatch gets burned. Gentry though. Can they find a CC as Shadow Assault will come in? Oh, Yordles gets deleted. Bone Skewer will find the kill onto Gentry though, as it is going to be a 1-for-1.
Again, it's so difficult to kill this Vel'Koz. He had the stopwatch, he has the barrier and the flash up, and his team was running up the river. You have to be able to respect that kind of play coming out in terms of when you have this team composition that loves to fight together. So not enough burst damage coming out of Talon. He really struggling to try to find any of these picks.
Yeah, and now with the Ocean Drake up, this is going to be the next focus for both teams. For now, Dawn Esports will back off. And, well, Truman State will look to just clear out some vision for now.
Yeah, they could definitely control this pit a little bit more. Without the Jarvan ultimate up quite yet, the Misfortune ultimate also down. Those are two of their teamfight tools that they really need to try to find success. It would getting zoned off here by Strel top. The TP's actually coming in.
Yeah, the TP's getting channeled. First focus on to Dwev. Flag and drag out, but he'll find the CC on to Shredster, who finds the Phantom Undertow. Oh, the steal will come in as Darwin goes right back in. Darwin will get taken out as that is a big ultimate from Gentry. They find the kill. Zombie Scion is back looking for the kill onto Dwev. So far, it is 1 kill for 1. Flag and drag out. And Dwev will be able to survive after a good steal. Tectonic Disruption finds its markers. There comes the rain as President-elect gets taken down. Make that a 2-for-1. And Drake in favor of Dawn Esports.
Again, they're not able to find the picks, the single target damage that they really want with this Talon, and the Orianna has not come close to even being online yet. So Pyke's really the only main damage dealer coming out here for this team, and into a team fight composition with the Vel'Koz, with the Misfortune that have high base values on their AoE ultimates. It's just so difficult to find any positive fights whatsoever for this team. So they're contesting these dragons, they're trying to find something, but it's just not working for them. I think they really need to just kind of take a step back, wait around a little bit, get this Orianna some gold into her, and try to expect to respond to the team fights. You do have the Sejuani, who scales into a great tank. You have the Scion, who does the same. So utilize those two in the Orianna's team fighting prowess and just try to take these fights as best you can a little bit later on.
Don't forget, both of these teams were 4-1 in regular season. Dawn Esports were the top seeds from the Ocean Division, whereas Truman State University were second seed from the Infernal Division. So both these teams very evenly matched in terms of performance so far, and this is more of the style of game that we were expecting rather than that one-sided affair in Game 1.
Oh, absolutely, in most cases. This has also been pretty much a best-case scenario here for the side of Dawn Esports. Pretty much every aggressive play that could have gone poorly from the side of Truman State really has kind of gone poorly. It's upsetting for the side of Truman, and especially for IBU's Yordles. Most of his kind of low percentage plays.
Unstoppable onslaught. Oh, the Glacial Prison will miss its mark, but the Bone Skewer will not focus onto Darwin for now. A lot of damage, but there comes a bullet time flag and drag as well, as that is a massive ultimate from Vel'Koz, as in goes the Talon. They can't quite find the kill. They will be able to find Darwin though, as here comes a Wenson. Strel is taken down. 3 kills for 1 in favor of a Dawn Esports. Once again, Truman State, they look for a fight. They look to find the picks, but they will come out worse yet again.
Again, they're not able to respond to the pure team fight. The MF ultimate and the Vel'Koz ultimate, too good directionally at fighting in any of these corridors, or in this case, was actually in the middle of the lane without the Sejuani ultimate, without any of this available CC to deny these channeled abilities. It's just too easy for the side of Dawn Esports to be able to respond to any aggression that can come out. So again, I don't like the way that they're playing this out right now. If they're going to do something like that, they need to make it snap a lot faster. They need to commit immediately to the Leona and just try to burst her out as fast as possible. Instead, they kind of meander looking for some of these higher damage targets and end up only trading 1 for 3.
And 2 of the biggest ultimates in the team fights from Truman State is A, that Sejuani ultimate. Oh wait, I'll hold that thought, because here we go. It's a 2v2 in the top lane, but so much damage coming through from the Mordekaiser as Taco gets taken down pretty low. Good bone skewer, but the Zenith Blade has connected regardless. President Lax getting burnt down in the realm of a death. Lax will get taken down as a Brosen looks to join the fight. It's a 3v3 once again. As the demolishing smash will be able to find its mark. But this is brave, this is bold, this is risky. Flag and drag away from Drev, but there's a bullet time. It is huge. Stretzer will just about be able to escape, but Brosen getting burned down. Brosen will now fall as well. And now they look for the collapse onto the pike. Flag and drag comes in. Drev playing very aggressively. Phantom Undertow will be able to find his mark. Depth from below, not enough damage. Cryo Netgear finds the killers in the bot lane. We see Yordle split pushing.
Yeah, and again, this is the point where you would want that Sanguine Blade you were talking about, but not going to be able to have it. The one positive thing is, despite this win for the side of Dawn Esports, they didn't really get much on the map outside of those few kills. And I abuse Yordle's actually getting this back is a good amount of gold for his troubles here. It's pretty nice. I also want to point out right now, there's a big shift in the build path of the Misfortune. She started with the Essence Reaver, and I now actually went towards Yumu's.
Oh, Zenith Blade will land onto the Talon. Flag and drag as well. Finds a knock-up Shadow Assault over the wall. But Cryo is there. And Cryo will find the kill. Cryo says, you remember me from last game? Do you remember me, the Caitlyn you abused? Well, it's my turn to get revenge this time round.
Absolutely. Much, much stronger showing here from Cryo on this Misfortune pick. Has a ridiculous amount of gold, 9,000 more than anyone else on his team, and has this Essence Reaver Yumu. He just does so much damage.
Zenith Blade and a Blasting Cone are back over. Frontier won't be able to find its mark. Does Frozen go for the hero's play? The Drake gets pulled out. There are so many wards in that Drake pit. It is ridiculous. Here we go in. They can't find the steal. Bullet time comes through, and Brosen will get taken down. Another kill going over to Dawn Esports. Bonecue will find his mark, but doesn't do anything at all. In fact, the Death Cross almost lands as Rev looking aggressive. Here we go. Flag and drag Cataclysm going in. Bonecue misses its mark. Drev will just be able to walk it out, as that's very aggressive from Yordle, diving in with the Noxian Diplomacy. Another Bone Skewer lands. Yordle's trying to get out of this one as he's getting chased down by Drev.
That should be the broken fight right here. They're looking to push up mid lane, though there is no Sedge wanting to be able to do anything. Sign's pretty much the last line of defense for this tower.
Decimating Smash finds a little bit, but not quite enough, as the turret will fall. Zenith Blade in and make it rain. Gentry finds the kill and is onto a rampage. Drell Taco in the zombie Scion. Potentially the chance for Truman State to go back in, but won't quite work. I've used Yordle in the backline. Out comes the Shadows. He can't find the kill. Cryo Netgear survives with a sliver of HP. As here we go. Oh, Shreds, he can't find the depth from below. He ints to try to find the kill, and the risk just does not pay off, as it's a 3 more kills going over to Dawn Esports Premier.
Yeah, again, I think you highlighted it just a little bit ago. It's actually this team. They're playing as though they are still ahead from last game. This talent especially is just all over the place, just attempting to make these plays happen. He needs to play a little more reserved, wait for his openings as best as possible. They don't come very often, but they do show up from time to time, but he's just not respecting that. Instead, he looks into the backline to try to find Misfortune, able to kill, able to put quite a bit of damage, but not able to kill her quite a ways. And again, that overextension from Stredster as well. It's just too much. They need to back off, and they just haven't for the entire game. And now might be at the point where their two team fighting aspects on the side of Dawn Esports, this Misfortune and Felcause, just might be too far gone as long as the proper setup is had for a fight.
Shredster looking aggressive, finds the Bone Skewer, but no follow-up from Truman State. Something I wanted to bring up before, but I didn't get a chance to do so, was the two biggest ultimates for the side of Truman State, in my opinion. A is the Glacial Prison, and then B, you've got the Shockwave. I don't think I've seen a single Shockwave. I don't know. I just don't remember seeing one, or nothing effective at least. And also, Brosen, he's missed so many Glacial Prison chances to turn things around. Arctic Soul gets cancelled. Decimating Smash comes through. Wenson getting burnt down a little bit low. Once again, I've used Yordles looking for a way in, looking to find an assassination, but he just does not have the damage to make it work. And I think you highlighted it perfectly. You know, Truman State, they're playing as if they are ahead, but they aren't.
Yeah. And it's difficult also now that Jarvan has quite a bit of his stats that he needs. He has this Guardian Angel. He has the Black Cleaver alongside the ultimate that really sets up these huge teamfight plays from the side of Dawn Esports. And Truman has no real response to it. Their Orianna ultimates, I've seen them a couple of times. They really haven't been. I don't think it's hit more than one person. If it has, it was only 2 people, and it has not done any damage yet.
Oh, another bone skewer will land, but the Cataclysm finds the killer instantly. Glacial Prison does nothing but buy a little bit of time as the Death Realm comes through. The focus onto Strel Taco, who's going to get whittled down slowly but surely. Another Death's Grasp, and Strel Taco will come back to the real world, and he will get blown apart. And now with a Baron available as well, there is nothing standing in Dawn Esports' way from picking up this objective.
That's correct. Should be pretty free for them. Again, they were the ones that designed the teamfight composition that could have been fought against a little bit earlier, but the Sejuani pick, in my mind, is really what kind of set this game in the way it's going for Truman. They don't have the same kind of damage output that would have helped out in some of these kills in the mid lane for IW's Yordles. Instead, they opt for a more CC route to try to deny the Vel'Koz any sort of combo potential, and it just did not work out. They weren't able to.
Looking for the catch, they find Cryo Netgear. There comes the depth from below. They find the kill. And now I Love Yordle stepping forward. The Shadow Assault, they don't quite have the damage. Put the parkour forward. Oh, that is a good stopwatch, but it will just buy some time. Shut down. Goes over to Brosen. Now it's her time for Truman State to back off. Has Yordles being caught out? Good bone skewer to buy Yordles the time he needs to escape.
It's finally the first few picks that we've seen actually come through relatively cleanly, all off the back of Shredster. Shredster's been doing a lot around the map, trying his best to find these hooks, find these ultimates to be able to get his team back in the swing of things, but just hasn't been able to get everything to work in the same way that happened last game.
Zenith Blade finds its mark, but the Bone Skewer will not. Shredster will get deleted. No, oh, yes, he will. And now the collapse coming through onto Brosen. Death's Grasp comes through. Zenith Blade as well. Brosen gets taken down, and just after we praise Truman State for finding a pick, it gets turned around. A decent shockwave this time. IBU's Yordles goes in. He finds one. Can he find anything else? Wenson burning him down, and Cryo Netgear will find the kill. Cataclysm in, a flash out from President Lax, but it's another 3 kills going in the favor of Dawn Esports. Now they look to pick up the Ocean Drake. They will have a 6-minute cooldown until we get the Elder Drake, and I think this may be the first time I actually see an Elder Drake in first hand. That's the word.
I don't know if that's actually going to show up. They have Baron buff, they have this Ocean Soul, and again, it's so difficult. There's no burst damage that's actually capable of killing most of the members of the team, especially with the barrier and the heal up for your 2 carries. And so if they survive through the initial burst of something like an Orianna, like a Pyke, like this Talon, then all they have to do is sustain through it. Again, if these champions were ahead, if these champions were even, I would say there's potential to burst out this team on these squishies, especially without the Ocean Drake really making much of an effect. But in this particular game, because the damage just isn't there so far, I think it's too... they don't have that kind of burst potential before the Ocean Drake really starts to kick in.
And as you can see from that new graphic that Riot have implemented, Wenson and Juev have the Baron buff still on them. No one else on the team does. And the Baron minions are now collapsing in on the inhibitor turret. The inhibitor turret will fall as once again the Glacial Prism misses, but here we go. The fight will start. The knockup comes through onto the Scion. Wenson on the rampage, finding the kill onto the Orianna. Strel Tackle solo. Disintegration rate will find one. Won't quite find the second, but it doesn't matter. The bullet time will seal the deal. 3 more kills. Make that 4 as a Cataclysm finds a pick onto Yordle. Is now a 5v1. Shredster. He will need to find an absolute miracle if he wants to turn this one around. Flag and drag forward. The smite comes through as well. The Nexus turrets fall. This is surely going to be Dawn Esports leveling up the series. And indeed they will as the Nexus falls. Dawn Esports take us to game 3.
Really, really nice setup. Again, I thought it was that this team, Dawn Esports, really needed to find a way to actually win the game. And last time, it felt like they didn't really do much, or at least they were kind of bystanders in the game. In this one, they had the win condition of let's team fight, let's do the best we can to set up for the misfortune for the Vel'Koz ultimates. They didn't lose the laning phase. IAB's Yordles really didn't get ahead, and no one was able to find the kind of success that they had last game. And because of that, when they went for these team fights, went for these skirmishes, they lost constantly because there's a better setup here for the side of the team with the setup of the team composition in Dawn Esports in this one. So yeah, I got to give them a lot of props. They found the composition that worked for them, and I can't wait to see whether or not they bring it back for the next game or if it can be punished once again from the side of Truman State.
And before we do head into a break, I've got two issues with how Truman State have drafted and, well, just on the draft alone. One, I feel, is this jungle gold matchup. We've highlighted from the very beginning, the emphasis on those early junglers who can clear quickly and gank those lanes. And unfortunately, Sejuani in the early stages just cannot match the Jarvan. The second thing is, I feel like the AP ADC's decision from Truman State doesn't work for them that well. And sure, it worked in game one, but I feel like it only worked because all the flaws got cancelled out because Shredster just deletes the center pick.
That's correct. Yeah. Again, I think the bot lane setup was a lot better into the mage. I think Orianna's. I'm not going to say Orianna's a worse pickup in the bot lane than a Ryze might be, but in this particular game, I think having that Leona for instant engage was really good. And then, again, I think it was just there was no real abuse, no real early game presence here from any of these champions, and they just fell by the wayside because Orianna wasn't able to scale up fast enough to respond to the same team fight.
With that said, though, we're going to be heading into a short break, but don't worry, we're going to be right back with a final match between Dawn Esports Premier and Truman State University Esports. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the third and final game of the Upsurge Minor League Division 2 quarterfinals between Dawn Esports Premier and Truman State University. First things first, Rebel, let's address the APC pickups that Truman State have been going for.
Yeah, having the mages in the bot lane isn't a terrible idea if you're able to make them work. So far, game one, the Rise was aggressed on early and then was able to kind of scale once there was a little bit more AP and that kind of stuff coming in. The thing about that, though, was the game had gone so heavily in the favor of Truman that it's difficult to say whether it was the Rise actually succeeding or whether it was somebody else or whether it was actually like the team succeeding around him. That was the problem. And then the Orianna, we saw the exact opposite, where Orianna really never came into her own whatsoever and wasn't able to contribute anything at all. So the question is like, can President Lax actually play ADCs in the bot lane? Does he have to stick to mages exclusively? And if that's the case, what can he bring out along with Shredster to really start to win the laning phase rather than having to stall out and just kind of wait?
Yeah, and the other thing I want to bring up is his top lane because we were both quite impressed with how Streltaka performed in game one. In game two, though, he was on the side into a Mordekaiser. He came out of the lane even in what I'm assuming is a slightly unfavorable matchup for him. So I would like to see a little bit of emphasis from Truman State towards that top lane. That being said, though, we are in two picks and bans. Olaf and Zoe are the first two bans of the night.
Yeah, that's correct. Those have been pretty consistent through every game. I think both of those have been banned away for the most part. Rise also taken away. Vladimir also taken off the board here. We're seeing the meta really develop in terms of the banning phases. It changes around quite a bit. Heimer's the only thing that's kind of stuck around. Vel'Koz also taken away here.
Yeah, the Vladimir also once again banned. We saw that banned out in game two, I believe. And as you mentioned, the Vel'Koz respect against Gentry coming through. As this has been a series of priority onto Leona. Is this something I don't know yet?
Like I said, Leona's a super strong champion right now. I think a lot of people have realized that. The amount of engage, the tankiness she brings, even the damage that she can do in the earlier stages of the game are absolutely invaluable for most team compositions. She slots in pretty well even into aggressive supports or melee supports. I don't like the Nautilus pick. I think that immediately gets countered by Leona. Now, the thing is, it's difficult to put damage down onto a Nautilus, so it's a little bit safer of lane. You can play a little more stall tactic with Nautilus, but certainly it isn't the aggressive pick that it would normally be.
Yeah. We'll have to see, though, what ADCs or indeed APCs will be paired with those two tanks, let's say. However, the bans on to the Heimerdinger, Rise, and Olaf have meant that Truman State can pick up their cane for themselves once again, and Brosen, I'm sure, will be happy to go back to that after a somewhat not fun game on Sejuani, as the Zaya and Echo are the two picks for Dawn.
Yeah, interesting to see again. Zaya, one of these champions that does pretty well with CC in the bottom lane, as well as the fact that she can play rather safe. It's a little difficult to aggress into Nautilus. Now, Morgana's an interesting pick because I believe this should go to the ADC role in the same way we've seen other mages. This, I think,
Nautilus
is the most
mid.
standard bot lane. Yeah, Nautilus mid could be the other option. I actually do think it's going to be Morgana Nautilus in the bot lane, though.
Okay, so you're going for we're gonna hold each other to this one,
That's
right?
fair, yeah. You're going Nautilus mid with Morgana support.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think it's Nautilus mid or Morgana mid, but I don't see the point of going Morgana mid. I think that I think it's all a flex to get the count onto the Leo. But we'll see.
Just wait for like the double flex where it's Nautilus top, Morgana mid, and they haven't even touched a bot lane yet, and they really hard flex.
Yeah, 100% is Nautilus jungle and Kane mid. The cat's
That
Kane
would
to
be
come through.
wild. I would love that right here, right now. Ornn taken away, Kale taken away. Orianna Talon actually banned out for the first time from Dawn, not wanting to see that champion pop back up here.
Well, the talent is being hovered, and it should be banned. I think it is a very sensible ban if it does get locked in, but no, it's going to get switched to the Scion, which I think is equally sensible, but I think the talent priority probably should have been placed over that Orianna.
I would agree with that statement. I don't think that the Orianna was able to make things work I'm actually a little curious about that. Again, you have to be reading that there's going to be another mage into the bottom lane, especially with Nautilus and Morgana taken. So they could be opting for this mid lane Nautilus, but I do expect Morgana Nautilus. So we'll see that once we see the rest of these picks come through. Ari being hovered.
It's not
Ooh.
looking good for my predictions so far. The Ari is locked in. Maybe it's an Ari APC, who knows? But I think
Also
you
possible.
are spot on, Rebel, with the Morgana North bot lane call.
Yeah.
Dawn, though,
Actually, Ari actually does a lot of the same things Talon does, just in a more AP sense. She also has that CC and the damage amplification from that charm that make her really, really good. The high mobility on a low cooldown makes her invaluable in the mid lane. I think it's another really good pickup for IW's Yordles.
Mordekaiser will get locked in
Nah.
again for Wenson. Worked really well for him in game 2. And we'll have to see what Truman State want to pick up into the Mordekaiser.
That's correct. We've seen the Scion twice in a row. The Scion wasn't terrible in either laning phase, even into the Mordekaiser, but now that that's banned away, I'm curious to see what it is that can be brought out by Streltaco here. It will be nice to see something like that. Rek'Sai, the look here. And not a massive shocker. Echo, as a jungler, really, really good, but seeing Rek'Sai again, Rek'Sai didn't really have a chance to shine in game 1. GP.
Gangplank.
Yeah.
I guess a
Nice.
counter pick into Mordekaiser with the remove
Oranges.
scurvy. Yeah, can just cleanse that Mordekaiser ult, which is very, very useful. So I guess it is the Morgana Nautilus in the bot lane. So you predicted this one, Rebel. Morgana Nautilus into the Xayah Leona. How do we see that going?
So Morgana has a ridiculous amount of wave clear early when you max the W first. Like, there's very little that can be done about the wave clear that comes out of this champion when that goes on first. That's why mid lane Morgana has a lot of prevalence. My curiosity comes from, does Morgana opt for a Glacial Augment build and play a more supportive role? Does Ari do the same thing in the mid lane? Like, what are we seeing between those two? Especially with Gangplank now on the team, you have a little bit more of that damage to play with. So you can see a little bit more of a supportive build coming out of either lane. But Morgana, to me, feels the most standard of any mage that they've drafted so far. Ryze, I could see where they were going with it having that priority. The Orianna we've seen before, but it really has never been massively effective or popular. But Morgana is something that does have a mainstay in the bottom lane. It's not super popular, but certainly with the wave clear that it brings, the safety it has, not having that black shield in the laning phase, especially when paired with a Nautilus, and also the aggression that can be brought if you have a Nautilus hook on top of a Morgana binding, especially with Kayn, Ahri around the area, then even that Gangplank ultimate being dropped means really what they've set up for here is another game where Kayn and Ahri look to feast upon the side lanes, and the contributions from everyone with the mobility, with the ability to rotate pretty heavily, is going to make a massive difference in the lane.
And let's take a look at this mid lane once again, because it was very important in game 1. We thought it was going to be super important in game 2, and I guess, well, I abuse Yordles was somewhat denied. But game 3, Ari into Echo, how do we see this going? How important is the result of this matchup going to be?
I'm sorry. I missed like half of that.
So I'm saying the Ari into the Echo. How is this matchup going to go, and how important is its result going to be on the rest of the team?
Well, what's interesting is that for the first 2 games, Gentro kind of went a more standard stally type mid laner, where you have like the mage, like Vladimir, who wants to scale up, who doesn't really want to do much until the team fighting phase for a few items come through. Then you had Vel'Koz, the more of the poke mage style. So Echo is a little bit different from what we've seen kind of come through for Gentro. It's another one of these champions that has wave clear and can roam around really effectively. So they're adapting to this style of mid jungle priority here. They have the Rek'Sai Echo up against the Ahri Kayn. This is going to be a really big set of matchups if they find each other in the jungle and they're competing for a lot of these camps. We saw Kayn's impact on the game. It was really, really well, really, really good. Rek'Sai has that CC though, coupled with an Echo is a lot of burst damage. Ahri has a lot of wave clear early, has some of those items. Bringing the Ignite actually right now also will make a significant impact in the pure 1v1.
Also would like to take this moment to bring you some quick words from our sponsors, Sector 6. Sector 6 Apparel is a leading esports apparel company providing on-demand printing for groups of all sizes. Sector 6 Apparel designs comfortable and stylish for professional esports organizations and collegiate programs, as well as our very own Upsurge Esports League. If you want premium esports clothing and would like to support us at the same time, head on over to Sector 6 Apparel at sector6apparel.com/collections/upsurge-esports. Once again, that's sector6apparel.com/collections/upsurge-esports. Check out Sector 6 Apparel today and okay, never mind. and promote Upsurge Esports and your favorite team in style today. With that said and done, we're going to be heading on over into a short break, and we'll be right back with the final game of the night. Stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the third and final game of the night. Dawn Esports Premier against Truman State University, vying for that
Oh.
semi-finals spot. As we're seeing the 5-man stacks coming through from both teams.
Yeah, we do see the invade path coming up here. They're actually looking for a stack here on the side of Dawn Esports. They're waiting for this in-game. They know with the Nautilus hook and with the Morgana binding, this is inevitable to come. This is such good early CC that can be brought out from this team, especially if Ari also opts for the Charm and since she opts for the Q. They know exactly where this team's going to be headed very quickly.
They're
Let's see
going
if
to
there's punishment
sneak
here.
in. And, oh, Brosen
Oh.
stepping up, and here we go. The damage comes out. Who has more? Gendry gets taken down very low. Force flash away. Shredder gets taken down. Sorry, not Shredder. Shredster gets taken down. And it's going to be a double kill going over to Cryo Nepgear. And now Brosen has to be careful. He flashes forward, looking for the kill onto Darwin. But the Time Winder comes through. Can they find the kill? The third auto attack. Oh, the Dark Binding finds the kill first. Flash over the wall. Now Brosen running for his life. Dashes over the wall and will be able to escape. It's a 2-for-2, but the double kill and first blood going over to Cryo Netgear and Dawn Esports Premier.
That's a huge setup here to make sure that your carry from last game and the strong member of the scaling portion of your team has those 2 kills early. That makes the job of the Morgana and the Nautilus a little bit more difficult in terms of laning. But the whole part of drafting the Morgana into the bot lane is that your wave clear is enough to keep the pressure away from you, away from your side of the lane. You can make sure that the ADC can't really take advantage of it. And now what you've also got is an Ari and a Kayn, both with 1 kill. We saw how good these two can be in the first game when they had the early advantage. So we need to see if they can press it a little bit more and which kind of style ends up winning, whether it's the ADC-centric team fight style or whether this mid lane kind of oppression that worked in the first game is going to come through again.
Well, in terms of the AP bot laners versus the more standard AD bot laner, it is quite literally 1-for-1. President Lax won in game 1 with that Ryza Leona combo. Game 2 though didn't quite work out with the Orianna fight.
Yeah, no, it did not. And again, the Orianna certainly did have tons of presence. Again, this is the one difference about Morgana also is, again, the gank setup you can have is a lot different. Kayn's a little low, but should be fine there.
Brosen has to be a bit careful. Will be able to pick up red buff though. Not going to get executed just yet, as that early trade was rather precarious for him, but decides that he doesn't need to back and just goes about his day as usual.
Yeah, another big part of this game right now is actually Ari is dominating mid lane farm already because of her ability to trade into the Echo if he wants to walk into the wave.
Oh, here we go. Prey Seeker surely going to come through as a good indestructible timing from Winston there.
Yeah, really nice setup from that. Making sure that last Q doesn't kill it. If he's even a little bit late on that, that's actually a kill right over to the Gangplank.
Stretch line lands are followed by the Dark Binding, and here comes the Brosen. The dash forward, and the Blade Caller will come through, but it's too little too late. And the flash forward with the CC. Darwin will get taken down as President Lax picks up the kill. The flash knock up in the top lane as Taco will fall. 4 kills to 3, currently in favor of Truman State University.
Nice response from both junglers, knowing to walk to opposite sides of the map and make sure they get things done. Really nice. Again, the whole point of the Morgana Nautilus bot lane is they have a lot of gank setup and a lot of pushing pressure, and that's what they're doing right now. They push the wave in. They should be able to keep this under. They have the tower plate under their belt and the 2 kills that they just accomplished. There's a really nice gank from the Kayn, and then on the opposite side of the map, the Rek'Sai able to find the response gank into the top lane. Both flashes burnt for the jungle and for the Rek'Sai and the Mordekaiser, but certainly worth it in order to get that early kill onto Rek'Sai. Now he can look to pressure the rest of the map. Actually, up top side.
We're only 4.5 minutes in, as you mentioned. Dweb looking once again towards this top side of the map. And we talked about how we would like to see some extra focus here. Here we go. Dweb will be able to find the knockup again. Do they quite have the damage? Obliterate will come through, but just lacking a couple hundred more HP of damage. Going back to what I was saying though, we're 5 minutes in and we're already starting to see a few CS discrepancies starting to emerge. One in this mid lane, Abuse Yordles, about 10 CS up on Gentry, and in the jungle as well. 20 CS up for Brosen at the minute.
And we saw this in game 1 as well. The Rek'Sai was pressuring the lane so hard. It was difficult for him to actually find the times to farm these camps effectively. That's the one downside of what we've seen from the pathing in this game. And the Kayn is just able to farm camps so quickly that it means almost nothing if he's even able to match pressure. So Kayn has been able to match pressure perfectly, actually 1-0 and 3 as opposed to the 1-0 and 2, and has this massive farm advantage. That's what's making the Kayn so difficult to play.
Oh, a lot of damage. Spirit Rush coming through under the turret as well. Abuse Yordles clean as you like. Finds a kill onto Gentry.
Yeah, and again, the Ahri able to fight through the minion wave. Unlike the Echo, it's a little bit more difficult for him to set up damage with that Q, having to hit minions ahead of time. And so Ahri feels free to do things like that. That also is the advantage of the Ignite in the laning phase. He knew that the fight could come out here and that he was going to try to win it. And that little bit of damage, that little bit of healing reduction was just enough to get him over the edge. Got to appreciate that little decision, making a massive difference in this lane.
As in the top lane. Actually, never mind, in the bot lane, Dredgeline will land, as will the Dark Binding, and Cryo Nepgear will be put back to sleep. Another kill going over to the side of Truman State University.
At that time, I'm not sure they actually even needed the Kayn to show up. All they had to do was walk up, hook the Xayah, and there was nothing that could be done. The Morgana binding kept her in place. The W came out for plenty of damage. It was just so difficult. Hex Flash, Peak Channel, not actually going to turn it.
As Darwin could look to go in. As another Dark Binding will be able to find its mark. No way of collapsing though. And the first Drake of the game is the Cloud Drake, which has now been secured.
Yeah, yet again, Cloud and Infernal, the first two Drakes that'll come off the board. So either Ocean or Mountain will be the Drake to watch as the transformation of the map comes through. Again, getting this Kayn ahead very early, already generating her own advantage. These two have pure mid lane priority right now. That's a massive part of how this series has really been dictated, so happy to see that. Also, the bot lane advantage now basically evaporated for those early 2 kills onto the Xayah. Really good mitigation of how this early game went. That early invade was a little bit rough, giving the Xayah the 2 kills, but it doesn't seem to have affected the way that they're playing the game.
And 7.5 minutes in, almost a 2k gold advantage for Truman State University. We've got Rift Herald coming up as well in a short bit, and we've seen Dweb been focusing towards that top side a lot. So let's see whether Dawn Esports can convert that into picking up a nice early Shelly.
And we will see whether that's the case. Already spawned here. You have the Gangplank on the top side of the map. Should have enough wave clear for that. Ahri perfectly capable of operating in the mid lane, especially once this Ludens is picked up. And with the Kayn having so much early damage, even into the likes of the Rek'Sai, they should feel comfortable having this top side advantage, being able to go after Shelly. And the Morgana and the Nautilus in the bot side can soak pressure without having to feel as though they're going to die outright once the pressure shifts on their side for the top side of the map. Truman, they should look for this Rift Herald. It'd be a very easy way to bail Gangplank out of the laning phase he's had so far. I think that's a good way to go.
Also, I'm looking forward to starting to see Stratacker using that Cannon Barrage to impact these team fights in the bottom or the mid lanes. Speaking of the bottom lane, Dweb looking aggressive, looking for a potential way in. And well, if a Dark Binding or Dredgeline collapse finds its mark, I'm sure Truman State University will look for the 2v2 fight.
And he will. Oh, here we go.
Dark Binding does land, and here we go. Zenith Blade comes in, as the Black Shield is pretty big, but Darwin gets taken down very low. Flash too late from President, and Laxi gets taken down. Feather Storm out. Blade Caller can't come through in time. Dweb gets taken down. Dredgeline finds his mark, and Darwin surely will fall as well. As Shreds almost gets taken down. Spirit Rush coming through in the mid lane as Yordles picks up the kill.
Yeah, this game feels a lot different than what we saw in Game 1. Despite the fact that you have a massive advantage in your mid and jungle positions, they're actually using that advantage in the bottom side of the map. Pause comes through here. Actually, looks like they're maybe starting to ready up. Not really sure, but yeah, they're using this jungle pressure they have with the advantage that Kayn owns to pressure on the bottom side of the map, where you have a lot of the CC and a lot of the eventual team fighting, a lot of the eventual damage will come through on the Xayah. So pressing that lane has kind of freed up the middle of the map to be pressureless, as the Rek'Sai really just kind of avoids it. And because of that, you see Ahri generate all of her own advantages in this lane phase. 3 kills, I think 2 of them were solo kills during the process. So really nice job. Much better game from I Abuse Yordles than last time.
Yeah, Ivysaur's having an absolutely fantastic game on this Ari. Hasn't needed any jungle presence, hasn't needed any lane presence either. And also kudos to this bot lane as well. They had to play against a Cryo Netgear who was 2-0 coming into lane.
Yeah, it was a little bit rough to deal with, but again, that's the whole point of the Morgana pickup here. Having this Hextech GLP will also set up things even better than what we saw before, especially with all the CC that's brought by her and the Nautilus in combination. So if Ari starts to come down here, if the Kayn continues to come down here, it's going to start to look even scarier for this Xayah pick to try to scale into the mid game.
I abuse Yordles 3-0. Brosen potentially more fed than he was in game 1. 4-0-4, 10 minutes in. That's almost a kill participation per minute. Absolutely nuttiest. Here we go in the top lane. The fight comes through. The barrels have been set up. Winston will get slowed a bit. Prey Seeker well sidestepped by Taka.
Yeah, really nice job. Knowing that the E had come out from Mordekaiser, there is no threat of that ability, so steps back instead of stepping forward. Brosen looking for it.
Brosen will go in, but he'll get knocked up, and there comes the ultimate. He picks up the kill. Now looking towards the Dweb as well as the parlay will come through. Void Rush, not quite going to be able to find the kill, and Taco will be able to find the kill onto Dweb.
Yeah, and there's no rotation here coming out to the bot side from the Echo. Now, only just now looking for it, but Nautilus is already on the top side waiting for this Echo to try to roam out of lane. Morgana perfectly capable of pushing in this Xayah and Leona on her own with that Black Shield, feeling perfectly safe to do whatever she feels like.
TP in the top lane as well here from Winston. Won't be able to find the Death's Grasp. And Strel Taco will just... I don't know why I say Strel. Strel Taco will just walk back under his turret and back himself.
And he will. A couple of tower plates going down here in the mid lane for the Ahri. Also the Rift Herald being grabbed by Kayn during this whole endeavor. That should spawn a second one as well if he gets it done very quickly. Yeah, there it is. So a second one will spawn with what should be enough time to take it if the team opts for it. That Dragon on the bottom side also perfectly available for any team that wants it. And there's tons of vision set up on the bottom side in the Dawn jungle. You see 3 wards and the Krugs on the red buff, and then on the Raptor pit as well to be able to spot out if they want to try to go for this Infernal Drake.
As you mentioned, the Infernal Drake is up and available now. Oh, as the Dredge line just falls a little bit shy of its mark, and won't really cost Shredster anything though at all. And the ping's coming through from the side of Dawn Esports as Yordles throws out a couple of Orbs of Deceptions, but won't be able to find its mark.
That will now. The potential collapse coming in here from Dawn onto Truman. They are.
They can't find the steal, but so much damage onto Dweb as Abuse Yordle picks up the kill. Meanwhile, Brosen playing so aggressively, Brosen and Cryo Netgear will be able to zone the members of Truman stay out as the Dark Binding misses its mark slightly, but Cryo Netgear, oh, the Shadow Step comes through. Brosen will go in as out comes the Feather Storm, and I'm sure Brosen will be happy with that. He'll just back off for now, and this is going to be first turret going over to the side of the Truman State University. And they will then look to keep on charging as well. Maybe get off a Shelly charge into the inner turret as well.
They should be able to secure that one for themselves on this inner tower. Again, this Ahri and this Kayn are just so fed. That fights over the walls like that absolutely benefits them.
Zenith Blade finds its mark. A lot of damage very quickly. Precedent Lax will get taken down. However, that being said, Truman State still get a lot of gold out of that and a lot of worth out of that overall play.
Yeah, that they did. The Zonia's was available. The ultimate was also available for this Morgana, I believe, at the time that she died, but just not willing to burn either.
Oh no, the Charmer lands in Darwin. Oh, good flash away, but it doesn't matter. The Ignite ticks down. Wait, Ignite?
Yeah, the Ignite was on. I don't really know what it was that killed the Leona right there. It was a little shocking. No. I don't think there's anything.
Yes, she does. It's
she does.
Red buff graphic, yes.
Okay. I was a little taken aback as to what happened right there, but...
Peril Convergence won't be able to find the CC on Yordles, who is a little bit larger man, but look how much damage that Orb of Deception does as Spirit Rush coming through there from Abuse Yordles. Interesting, not able to find the
Yeah, just not really trying to get caught up by the bubble, so willing to expend that ultimate. Not super high cooldown this early, and then using it to bait out, just try to fish for some charm. If she finds the charm onto the Zaya, that's a ton of damage that gets thrown down. So, yeah, absolutely worth that little use of the Spirit Rush, especially after that cooldown was already burnt.
Oh, Dweb
Oh,
looking aggressive in the mid lane.
oh,
This dredge line is going to land on to Gwenson. Soul Shackles will come through as the Realm of Death is popped, and another Darker binding, and so much CC. The TP getting channeled as well. Gwenson's already dead. There's a little bit of overkill, you feel, from the side of Truman State. Solar Flare will come through, not going to be able to find his mark. Zenith Blade comes in, and a big collapse onto Brosen, but there comes the Umbral. And Brosen won't be able to find the kill as he gets CC'd by the Blade Caller. And now the focus on President Lax, who goes into stasis. Shredster looking to try to find something as the dredge line seems to go through Dweb for a second. Shredster gets taken down very low as he yodels with a Spirit Rush forward. He finds one. Now he's looking for the second as a Cryo so low as the Orb of Deception can't find his mark as the Featherstorm already off cooldown, and it will keep Cryo Nepgear alive, who also had the heal available if you really need.
Yeah, there are a ton of these fights going through right now that just look so close, and they're inches off of being lost really heavily from the side of Dom. They're holding on to these champions they shouldn't have. I think that was a 3-for-3, all things said and done, thankfully, despite being down so much gold, because they are able to walk away from these situations with a little too much tankiness. It's difficult to burn through champions like the Mordekaiser, like the Echo, even like the Leona when the Aftershock is up, because of all the survivability they have in their kits innately.
We have a Mountain Drake up as well, and we already have the Mountain Drake Soul on the Rift, so only Mountain Drakes from now on.
Yeah, and again, after the changes that were made to Mountain Drake, I feel like it's one of, if not the strongest Drake currently available, because of the amount of armor and magic it can bring, and the soul itself also giving that massive shield.
Oh, Yodel's taking a lot of damage on the turret, and another turret shot will come through, force you Spirit Rush to safety as Gentry trying to chase down as a big charm will find its mark, and Yodels won't try his luck, but I'm sure Strel will. Dark Binding not going to be able to land onto Cryo Net. Yeah.
Ultimate's going to come up for Echo here any second now.
Parallel Convergence as the Alco buys some time, and the turnaround coming in. Wenson, he finds the ultimate as the Death Grasp comes through as well. And the Alco playing a bigger part here. Strel trying to find the parlay onto Gentry, but he's just too far off, and he will be forced to back out.
Yeah, interesting. I think Gentry could have used his ultimate there, and they could have looked for the engagement after the Death Realm had expired, but instead of doing so, he just waited, walked out of the fight, and then wasn't willing to commit with such low health into the Gangplank for not having that ultimate readily available. So just willing to take the 2v1 kind of equal trade of no deaths, but now Mountain Drake potentially on the table for the side of Truman.
TP getting channeled in and will come through. Dawn Esports, they want to contest this, and they will go for it. Solar Flare finds 3. That is big. In she goes with the Zenith Blade as well. It's a 2-for-1. Make that a 2-for-2. 1-for-2, sorry, as somehow Dweb gets taken down, and somehow Truman State are winning this. They find the dredge line as well. That's a big Blade Caller as Cryo Nepgear finds the kill, but Shredster will be able to find one in return, as it is 3 kills for 2. And I don't know how Truman State came out of that on top. They did lose the Mountain Drake as Dweb finds his second Drake steal of the series.
Yeah, again, a lot of the damage that comes through from these fights, some of it does come through from Morgana, but it really is the Ahri and the Kayn doing a lot of the damage when it comes, all things said and done. So if those two champions are left to their own devices, especially this Ahri in this fight, it's going to be difficult to win fights like this if you're on the side of Dawn Esports. Now, Gangplank also was not involved whatsoever in that fight. I think if Gangplank had been there, that would have been a very definitive team fight for the side of Truman, but losing that Mountain Drake is pretty big. That Mountain Drake going to be very helpful. Having those resistances into a team that's beating you is a little bit difficult, or is super beneficial.
Here we go. Shelly will get taken down. Still need to try to figure out a name for second Shelly. However, we're going to be having Baron in 20 seconds, and with the new Rift Herald changes, means you can drop it very, very quickly. Mordekaiser ultimate comes through onto the Kane. Unboard Trespass is available, but IB's Yordle so much damage, picks up the kill without too much of an issue. As here we go, Dweb looking aggressive. Oh, a fantastic Dark Binding from President Lat. As Shelly yet to be spawned. As we have the Baron up, and actually, Rebel, have you been keeping tally of which teams have got which Drake so far?
I do believe so. So the first two were Cloud and Infernal. Once again, those two both went to the way of Truman. But this most recent Drake went to the side of Dawn. That is the Mountain Drake, the first Mountain Drake of the game goes. So there is potential, of course, if you take all 4 Mountain Drakes, that's a ridiculous amount of armor and magic. But more importantly, you can still get that soul if you're on the side of Dawn Esports, if you confirm the rest of the dragons. So you're down, but not out at the moment. We will see kind of what happens. At minimum, we're going to get at least 2 more dragons to spawn.
We'll have to see whether they can secure this next Drake that will be spawning in just over 2 minutes time, but you have to be respectful if you're Dawn Esports here. They are behind almost by 10k gold. It's a large amount. They were 10k gold behind in game 1, but this game for some reason feels a lot closer. And with Baron up as well, one misstep will give Truman State a massive advantage.
Yeah, and again, I think the reason why it feels a lot closer is again, champions like Echo, champions like Mordekaiser, they take a lot longer to kill because of the shielding, the healing, and then also the stalling capabilities that they're able to employ so that they don't die immediately. Number 2, we haven't really seen a pure 5-on-5 yet. Gangplank hasn't really been in every single fight.
Oh, Flash Dark Binding not going to be able to find his markers. They will almost find something. Parallel convergence. The CC lands into Morgana. Already taken down. Solar Flare will find 2. As that's a good death cross. As the Echo with the Chrono Break comes in. That is a big barrel coming in from Attack of the Parlay. Comes through as well. Leona will fall. And now they're looking for Gentry. But they will back off. They are happy with a 4 kills for 1. Absolutely huge from Truman State. This could potentially be a game. I doubt it. 15-second death timers. The inhibitor turret should fall, and potentially the inhibitor as well.
Yeah, we also saw that bottom lane tower take a ridiculous amount of damage from the Rift Herald being dropped down there, so they were able to spread out. And again, we finally see the 5-on-5 team fight. Gangplank was a little late to it, but Morgana being the only one going down, and 4 members, everybody except for the Echo, dying on the opposite side. Really, really clean. The Gangplank has a ridiculous amount of gold and damage to throw into these fights. You saw that with the barrel impact. And how much damage it did when it collided with a lot of these champions. So now that they do cluster, if they are able to generate these team fights, I think it's going to be a lot harder for Dawn to manage.
Yeah, and here we go, 23 minutes on the dot into the game, and Baron has been started up, but, well, Dawn Esports can't really go for that, not for a 5v5. They will back off from Baron for now. But I feel like we're going to be getting our good old Baron dance coming in. However, for now, Truman don't care. They're going to go and pick up the Mountain Drake.
Yeah, that should be their first Mountain Drake as well. That's going to equalize the armor and put them a 1 away from receiving that Mountain Drake soul. Again, that is such an impactful soul for giving that shield over to a team. It's difficult to burst through that big of a shield, especially against players with a little bit more survivability. Things like the Nautilus, things like this Kane will be harder to fight with a massive shield in front of their health bar. So I expect that to play a big role. I don't think they can give that over. Otherwise, they're basically throwing through at least the first Baron buff, because you can essentially walk directly up to Baron and tank the whole thing with no damage applied with that Mountain Drake soul.
I guess Mountain Drake still does help you take Baron in that regard, as the Spooky Ghost will come through. Parallel conversion won't quite find the CC onto Frozen. Dark Binding just a little bit off its markers. Well, we see the Cannon Barrage coming through as well, but that might be enough to allow Truman State to start up the Baron, as Yordle will be on zoning duty, and I don't think anyone really wants to step up.
We're going to see a fight potential. This is a really slow Baron buff. They don't have that standard ADC to be able to throw much damage in.
Yeah, and Brosen going straight in onto Dweb, doesn't want to give him a chance, and they find a kill so quickly, courtesy of a fantastic charm from Abuse Yordles. Baron will fall now as well, and now they look for the pick onto Gentry. Parallel Convergence does nothing at all. Chrono Break is available, will come to a lot of damage onto Yordles. The Ignite is down, and it's going to be a 1-for-1, but Truman don't care. They find the kill onto Darwin as well. And now they can go for the end. They've got 3 kills for 1, but they're just going to push in the waves.
Yeah, and the base has already fallen to shambles for the most part for the side of Dawn Esports. They lost that mid lane inhibitor, I believe. If not, it's right on the... Yeah, they lost the mid lane inhibitor, and then that bot lane inhibitor is right now being...
Another dredge line. Lands in the Featherstorm will come through, but what goes up must come down, as Quickshot likes to say. The inhibitor turret will get taken down, and the second inhibitor of the game will fall. As we say that, Darwin and Gentry will respawn as the members of Truman State rotate towards the bottom inhibitor. They'll pick up the third and final inhibitor of the game, and now they will look to reset before potentially making a final push.
Yeah, they certainly have the team fight for it, and all those minions actually take out a tower of their own, so that it's just down to 1 Nexus tower with 3 lanes of minions crashing in at any given time. The Gangplank, the Ahri, just so ridiculously strong right now. I think it's going to be difficult to pull off any semblance of a team fight on the side of Dawn Esports.
Yeah. And this game already, well, it's been completely different from what we saw in Game 2, more along the lines of Game 1, Truman State University back to their best. 16k gold up. 2 minutes until we get the next Mountain Drake. And, well, Truman State have a choice. Do they stall and wait for that Mountain, or do they just go for the finish here?
The way they're playing, they still have some Baron buff left, so they might be looking to set up some plays. What I would do is I would try to make sure your waves are crashing at least to the base, so you can essentially take the Mountain Drake for free. And once you have that Mountain Drake soul, again, you can take any fight you want, anywhere you want, especially with only 1 tower left on the map to defend under. I think it's just too hard to manage through that massive shield that you'd be getting. Potential fight in the bottom side.
Here we go. Collapse coming in. Dogfighting will land. A good night to Web. And now they're looking for the Echo as well. Jarvan will get hit by the Spooky Ghost. Yordles finds the kill, but it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter because Yordle gets 1. He gets the second as well. Wenson, he'll find the Realm of Death, but the Nexus turret will get taken down, and Wenson will get finished as well. Truman State University, they will end the series on an ace as President Lax. He's a little bit tilted. He will execute himself under the fountain. But game 2 and the series goes to Truman State University.
Yeah, and when Truman State University, they were the ones putting the effort, the kind of carry potential in the series over towards Brosen and towards I Abuse Yordles. That was when they were finding success. This is what happened in game 1 when they allowed them to get priority. In this game, they do the same thing. Give a comfort pick of that Kane, give that Ahri pick, which absolutely flex on Gentry in the laning phase, and give something a little less priority, less important in terms of like pure strength of carry to President Lax in the bot lane. That's why we saw him on the mages. Game 2, he had the Orianna, which was a massive portion of the team fight, and the middle of the map lost in a very significant way, and so there was no coming back from that. So in this one, they reinforced having that mid lane dominance, that mid lane priority, and it really worked to their favor.
And I want to, again, go over this Truman State drafting, let's say, because games 1 and 3, no issues at all. Game 2, though, again, I feel, somewhat down to that Orianna pick in the bot lane, but I also think a lot of it revolved around that Sejuani pick for Brosen. I think that, heading into semifinals and potentially finals, you've got to have Brosen on these aggressive junglers.
You do. I think a large part of it was that in game 2, you draft Pyke for the bottom lane as a way of roaming and trying to get an advantage in the mid lane. You draft Sejuani as a different style of jungler who tries to put focus towards the mid lane, especially into the Vel'Koz with the ultimate, the CC she can bring. And then what happens is you don't make anything happen in the mid lane. You actually lose quite a bit of dominance in the mid lane. You lose a lot of that priority you had in game one. Number two, the Orianna just is left to her own devices in the bot lane against a strong Misfortune and Leona when she's down there. So you have to play very respectfully, or else you get engaged. You die in that bottom lane. It's the Orianna, and so Orianna doesn't scale up as fast as you want. All of the focus that you put in the draft towards the middle lane does not pay off in the slightest, and that's kind of what happened. So when we did see that carry potential come out of the jungle and they exchange it for a little bit more utility in the bot lane, that's when it was uh, Truman State that was really starting to pop off, really starting to find their rhythm.
And finally, before we do sign off, Rebel, who are we going to give our MVP to?
Ooh, the MVP of this series, that's a tough one. IAB Zordals was really, really good through most of this. I gotta give him, but actually, I think I'll give it to Strel Taco. If he was a
Yeah.
substitute in the series and he played immaculately in all three games, I think his ability to just dominate the laning phase on his own. This one, he was a little bit aggressed onto. Even through that, he was still very strong in the gangplank pick. So I got to give Strel Taco a lot of props. I would give him the MVP probably.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you. He was focused a lot in games 2 and 3, but he came out of it fine. Also want to give a nomination as well to Shredster. I think he played very well across
Hmm.
all 3 games. Any final words before we wrap up, Rebel?
To Hot Dog.
Okay, I'm going to pretend I know what that means. However, um, from myself and from Rebel, that's all we have time for. Thank you very much for tuning in. Just to recap, Truman State University take the quarterfinal victory against Dawn Esports Premier, and they will be making their way to the Upsurge Minor League Division 2 semi-finals. Stay tilt-proof on the Rift, guys, and good night.